I am a piece of trash thrown out by my family. I had originally intended to rot away in the dirt for the rest of my life, but when I transmigrated into Lu Yun, I discovered 3 children, thin as skeletons, waiting expectantly for me to finish that bowl of thin porridge. And since the original owner was still discussing the price of selling his daughter to human traffickers in town yesterday, I glanced back at the dust-covered long stick hanging on the wall, and suddenly, an idea formed in my mind. The wind in the 12th lunar month drilled into the bone gaps like a knife. When I opened my eyes, the back of my head had bumped into a frozen, rock-hard clod of dirt, pain making me grimace. Before me was a gray, overcast sky. Low mud walls stood crookedly around a small courtyard, and bundles of firewood covered in snow were piled in the corner. A strange memory rushed into my mind like a tide. Great Ning Dynasty, Qingzhou, Kangwu Mountain Range, Lu family village. I had transmigrated. The original owner was also named Lu Yun, the eldest son of the direct lineage of the Lu family in Qingzhou City. The Lu family was a family of cultivators. Their ancestors had produced Foundation establishment stage cultivators, but because this eldest son possessed 5-element mixed spiritual roots, his second brother, Lu Zhao, who had heavenly spiritual roots, united with the elders to usurp power, and drove him out of Qingzhou City, throwing him into this godforsaken little village. Ever since then, the original owner had become a wreck, drinking, gambling, and beating his wife and children all day long. His wife had run away, and the 3 children were left following him, suffering from hunger and cold. I felt the spiritual energy in this body, which was so thin it was almost negligible. I sighed inwardly. Qi refining stage 1. In a family of cultivators, it was no different from being a cripple. I pushed open the creaky, broken wooden door of the main room, and saw 3 little bean sprouts busy around the stove. The oldest girl, Lu Linger, was 9, but she was as thin as a 7 or 8-year-old child, busy scooping millet porridge into a chipped bowl. Next to her stood Luan and Lu Ning, staring hungrily at the bowl in her hand. The porridge was so thin it could reflect a human silhouette, and at most, it was only enough to keep one person half full. They hadn't taken a single bite. They had saved it all for me. Daddy. Luan was the first to notice me, reflexively shrinking behind his sister. Lu Ning hugged her sister's leg directly. Lu Linger turned around, forcing a smile that was uglier than crying. Dad, the porridge is ready. Please drink it while it's hot. Her eyes were red and swollen, as if she had been crying. I walked to the stove, reached out to take the chipped bowl, divided the porridge into 4 portions, and pushed them toward the 3 children. Sit down. Let's drink together. Lu Linger didn't look at the bowl of porridge, staring fixedly at my face. There was no surprise in her eyes, only sharp vigilance. She hugged her sister tighter, and after a long time, managed to squeeze out a sentence. Dad, what did you say to Steward Zhou yesterday? I remembered now. The original owner had been drunk yesterday, and was haggling with the steward of the Zhou mansion in town, intending to sell his 9-year-old daughter to them as a concubine. It has nothing to do with Steward Zhou. I squatted down to be at eye level with Lu Linger. I won't be associating with him anymore. The porridge will taste bad if it gets cold. Let's eat, alright? She stared at me for a long time, finally picking up the bowl, because she was truly too hungry. Luan and Lu Ning had already started drinking in small sips. Lu Ning even licked her lips. I drank my bowl of thin porridge in one gulp. My stomach remained empty. I glanced at my weak, sluggish body, and then at the dust-covered long stick in the corner. Before the original owner started drinking, he was at least a Qi refining stage 1 cultivator. Although his spiritual energy was almost dried up, the foundation was still there. And for those loose cultivators whose spiritual roots were impure, and who couldn't walk the path of Qi refining, there might be other ways. Once this thought popped up, I held on to it tightly. Cultivation was not just about the path of Qi refining. If Qi refining didn't work, then I would practice body refining. The original owner had spent these years drinking, whoring, gambling, and beating his wife, turning himself into a ghost. But his bone structure was still there. It was not impossible to temper it again. I picked up the long stick and weighed it, walked into the courtyard, and started chopping firewood, 1 strike at a time, not with an axe, but with the stick. 1 strike, 2 strikes, 3 strikes. Each strike felt like I was smashing the original owner's past debts to pieces. I didn't look back, but I heard the broken wooden door behind me being pushed open a crack. 3 little heads were squeezed into the crack, and the youngest, Lu Ning, asked, Big sister, has daddy gone crazy? Linger didn't speak, but her fingers clutching the door frame loosened a bit, only a little bit. But I knew that this bowl of porridge, and the sound of chopping wood with each strike, were slowly pulling this home out of the mud. As the cold wind blew in, I heard myself say, tomorrow, I'll take you up the mountain to dig for wild vegetables. This time, no one asked if I was plotting something bad. The original owner's understanding of body refining was limited to these basic common facts. As for proper body refining techniques, he hadn't even touched them. Moreover, the consumption required for body refining was far beyond what he could afford. The mess the original owner left him was even more headache-inducing than receiving 100 food delivery orders, and even greater trouble lay ahead. The Great Ning Dynasty had been at war with the Yen Kingdom to the north for 3 years, and the imperial court's taxes were becoming heavier each year. This year, they had even collected taxes up to the year after next. The Yamen officials had come once last month to urge payment, dropping the word that if it wasn't paid this month, the men would have to be conscripted into the army. If Lu Yun went to be conscripted with his current physique, he would probably pass pass away before even making it through training camp. He had to find a way to break the deadlock quickly. Just as Lu Yun put the empty bowl on the table, and was calculating in his mind how to make a living, a mechanical voice without any emotion suddenly exploded in his mind. Ding! The daily opportunity system has been successfully bound. Host, Lu Yun. Search range, 10 li from the host's location. Refresh frequency, once per day. Each time, 3 opportunities. Opportunity levels range from low to high. White, green, blue, purple, red, gold. Lu Yun froze for a moment. Then his heart began to beat wildly. A system. The standard golden finger for transmigrators. He had one too. Do you want to start searching for today's opportunities immediately? Lu Yun didn't even think before silently saying yes in his mind. An invisible ripple spread out with him as the center. As if every blade of grass, every tree, every stone, and every piece of soil within 10 li was scanned by some force. The 3 children were completely unaware, still drinking their porridge in small sips. Lu Linger was still observing Lu Yun vigilantly, completely unaware that her old man had just experienced something extraordinary. A moment later, the system's voice sounded again. Today's opportunity search is complete. 3 opportunities have been marked. Opportunity 1. White. 3 li north of the village. Under the gravel pile at the foot of the Kangwu mountain cliff. Buried is a wild earth dragon root. 3 years old. It strengthens the body and can be consumed directly. After consumption, it can significantly improve one's physique, getting rid of the weak state. For low-level body refiners, although the earth dragon root cannot directly improve cultivation, it can stabilize the foundation, laying the groundwork for subsequent practice. White opportunity. Something to guarantee survival. It's just right for this broken body of mine. Lu Yun noted the location in his mind. Opportunity 2. White. 3 feet underground at the old threshing ground of Lu family village. Buried is a rough pottery jar. Inside are 320 copper coins, and 3 stalks of red blood grass, a low-level strengthening medicinal herb. It can be used in conjunction with the earth dragon root to enhance the physique. The medicinal properties of the red blood grass are mild, especially suitable for the quenching stage of body refining. Lu Yun's breathing became slightly rapid. 320 copper coins. For him right now, this was a huge fortune. Although it still wouldn't be enough to pay the taxes, it was enough for the whole family to eat their fill for 2 months. And there were 3 stalks of red blood grass. Used together with the earth dragon root, the effect would certainly be better. However, the old threshing ground was in the middle of the village. Digging in broad daylight definitely wouldn't work. He had to wait until night. Opportunity 3. Blue. On the southeast side of the main peak of Kangwu mountain, about 8 li from the host's location, there is a hidden mountain cave covered by vines. Deep inside the cave, 15 zhongyin. On the left wall, there is a natural crack. Inside is hidden a complete scroll of the Tiger Roaring Golden Bell Shield, an external martial arts hardgong cultivation mental method, left by the hardgong master Lei Jiuxiao from 100 years ago. During his lifetime, Lei Jiuxiao was an Iron Bone Realm peak expert, corresponding to Foundation Establishment peak power. Although he hadn't stepped into the Qi Pulse realm, his bronze-skinned and iron-boned hardgong skills had few rivals in the Qingzhou area. Cultivating this technique to perfection can make one impervious to swords and spears, capable of resisting 10,000 jin. There is also a bottle of first-grade body-quenching pills, 9 in total, in perfect condition, specifically for quenching the flesh during the introductory stage of body refining. Cooperating with the cultivation of the Tiger Roaring Golden Bell Shield will produce twice the result with half the effort. Lu Yun almost couldn't stand still. Tiger Roaring Golden Bell Shield, a proper hardgong body refining technique. He had just been thinking that even if he practiced Qi refining with his trashy physique, he would still be at the bottom. The path of body refining, on the contrary, was more suitable for his current situation. The threshold for entry into body refining was lower than that of Qi refining. The first 3 small realms of the bronze skin realm only required techniques and medicinal materials, and even with mediocre talent, one could force their way up. Moreover, body refiners have ferocious combat power in the low stages. The early bronze skin realm could withstand the spell attacks of mid-stage Qi refining cultivators. This was exactly what he needed right now. At least he wouldn't be bullied by just any random Tom, Dick, or Harry. And there were 9 body-quenching pills. This configuration was enough for him to transform from a cripple to a mid to late stage bronze skin realm body refiner in the shortest time possible. Lu Yun took a deep breath, suppressing the excitement in his heart, and quickly cleared his thoughts. The system refreshes 3 opportunities every day. Today was a combination of white, and blue. 1 to build the foundation, 1 to solve the immediate crisis, and 1 to turn things around. Everything was arranged clearly and logically. He looked up at the sky outside. It was gloomy. It must have been late afternoon already. Winter nights fall early. In an hour or 2, it would be dark. First, go and pick the earth dragon root. After it gets dark, sneak out to dig up the threshing ground. As for the green opportunity in that cave, I'll go find it tomorrow morning. After all, an 8 li mountain road is no joke. With this current body of mine, climbing it would probably cost half my life. Dad? Lu Linger's voice pulled him out of his calculations. The 3 children had finished their porridge. Luan and Lu Ning's expressions were obviously more comfortable than before. Lu Linger still had that tense look, but the vigilance in her eyes seemed to have faded a little. With a trace of confusion added, "Are you okay?" You stood there, staring blankly for a long time. Lu Yun reached out out and rubbed Lu Linger's head, making her already messy, withered, yellow hair even messier. Lu Linger froze completely, as if struck by lightning, not moving at all. In the memory of the original owner, this father, let alone rubbing her hair, not beating her was already a blessing from the heavens. I'm fine. Dad was just thinking about something. Lu Yun withdrew his hand, the corners of his mouth curving slightly. Ninger, stay at home and wait for Dad. Linger, look after your younger brother and sister. Dad is going out for a while, and will be back before dark. Lu Linger opened her mouth, wanting to ask something, but in the end, didn't say anything, only nodding lightly. Lu Yun turned and pushed open the courtyard door. A biting north wind, wrapped in fine snow particles, rushed at him, stinging his face painfully. He hunched his neck, wrapped his broken cotton-padded jacket tighter, and squinted his eyes to look ahead. The Kangwu mountain range rose and fell under the gray, bleak sky, the peaks hidden in the lead-colored clouds. At the foot of the mountain lay scattered a few mud-walled houses similar to the Lu families. The smoke from the cooking fires appeared extremely thin and powerless in the wind and snow. 30 li to the east of the village was the direction of Qingzhou City, and 800 li to the north was the Yan Kingdom. The two countries frequently broke out in wars, and the common people caught in the middle were like wild grass in the fields, blowing to whichever side the wind was stronger. Whoever won, they had to pay grain and taxes, but those things were still too far away from him. Right now, there was only one thing he had to do: seize every opportunity the system gave him, and crawl out of the mud, step by step. That Lei Jiuxiao could rely on the tiger-roaring golden bell shield to cultivate to the peak of the Iron Bone realm, and make a name for himself in Qingzhou. I, Lu Yun, have a system in my hands. Could I possibly be worse than that predecessor? He took a deep breath of the cold air, and stepped toward the north of the village. First, survive, then talk about turning the tables. Lu Yun wrapped his broken cotton-padded jacket tightly, stepping into the snow, one deep foot and one shallow foot, walking toward the north of the village. The mud houses on both sides of the village road were mostly closed up. Occasionally, people squatted at their doorways, not greeting him when they saw him. In their eyes was either contempt or numbness. Everyone in the village knew what kind of person he was: a fallen young master, a drunken wife-beater, a piece of trash that couldn't be lifted up by mud. Lu Yun had no heart to care about these gazes. His mind was now entirely filled with that earth dragon route. 3 li was not far, but the snow was difficult to walk in, and on top of that, the original owner's broken body was truly dragging him down. By the time he arrived at the foot of the cliff at the foot of Kangwu Mountain, he was panting heavily, his two legs feeling like they were filled with lead. The cliff was not high, only 3 or 4 zhang. The cliff wall covered with withered vines and icicles. A layer of gravel was piled at the foot of the cliff, covered with half a foot of snow. Lu Yun squatted down, and according to the position marked by the system, started to dig. The gravel was frozen hard as rock, and his hands became red after digging for a bit, his fingernails filled with mud and sand. He gritted his teeth and dug down nearly 2 feet deep, when his fingertips suddenly touched something hard, prying away the gravel and frozen soil. A brownish root, the thickness of a baby's arm, was revealed, its surface rough, its fibrous roots dense, the cross-section revealing a pale yellow fleshy interior, giving off a strong, earthy, fishy smell. Earth dragon root, 10 years old. The condition is even better than the system's description. Lu Yun stuffed the earth dragon root into his bosom, and just as he was preparing to stand up, he suddenly heard a crunching sound of footsteps on the snow behind him. He turned his head abruptly. A sturdy young man was walking over from a nearby mountain path, shouldering a thick wooden stick, walking with wind, making the snow splash everywhere. This man was wearing a worn-out leather jacket, a hemp rope tied around his waist, his face square and mouth wide, a pair of triangular eyes containing a hint of ferocity. Lu Yun quickly found this person's information in the original owner's memory. Lu Daniu, the village chief's son, 19 years old this year. His brute strength was among the best in the village. He was short-tempered, and would at the slightest disagreement. Quite a few young men in the village had been beaten by him. Even more fatal was that his father, Lu Yukai, was the pawn planted by the Lu family in Lu family village to watch over Lu Yun. Yo, isn't this young Master Lu? Lu Daniu saw Lu Yun from afar, the corners of his mouth curling, pulling out a fake, mocking smile. What are you doing running to the foot of the mountain in this heavy snow? Gathering firewood? Lu Yun stood up calmly, and stuffed his mud-stained hands into his sleeves, saying flatly, just out for a stroll. Stroll? Lu Daniu walked closer, his gaze scanning Lu Yun, and then looking at the gravel pile behind him, sneering. You're out for a stroll with this physique? Aren't you afraid of being blown away by the wind? I heard that the 3 cubs at your house are almost starving to death, yet you still have the leisure to be strolling here. He laughed after saying this, his laughter coarse, echoing at the foot of the empty mountain. Lu Yun didn't respond, turning and walking away. Lu Daniu watched Lu Yun's hunched back disappear at the end of the village road, suddenly feeling inexplicably irritable. He couldn't say why, he just felt that. He didn't like this person. It was as if the other party had done something to wrong him, but he couldn't clearly state what exactly. He scratched the back of his head, spat a mouthful of saliva onto the snow, and shouldered his stick, walking in another direction. When Lu Yun returned to the village, the sky hadn't completely darkened, but he didn't rush home. Instead, he turned to the doorway of a household at the west end of the village. This house had strings of dried corn hanging on its gate, smoke rising from the chimney. A man in his 50s 50s was squatting on the threshold, smoking a dry tobacco pipe. This man was called Zhao Laosan, one of the few hunters in the village, occasionally setting traps on the mountain to catch rabbits or wild pheasants, living a slightly better life than ordinary families. "Uncle Zhao," Lu Yun called out. Zhao Laosan looked up and saw it was Lu Yun, his expression as if he had seen a ghost. This fellow was good for nothing in the village, always number one at charging things on credit. He subconsciously wanted to retreat into the house. "Young Master Lu, what do you need?" Lu Yun fished that earth dragon root out from his bosom, broke off a piece of about 3 inches, and handed it over. "I want to exchange it with you for something. This is an earth dragon root. I dug it up on the mountain. It can sell for several dozen copper coins at the pharmacy. I don't want money. Can you exchange it for some cured meat for me?" Zhao Laosan took the earth dragon root and brought it to his nose to smell it, his eyes suddenly lighting up. He was a hunter, constantly dealing with medicinal herbs, and he recognized at a glance that this thing was real. Although the earth dragon root wasn't a precious medicinal herb, it was great for its warm, nourishing properties. Stewing it in soup in winter could warm the body and dispel the cold. Taking it to the pharmacy in town would sell for at least 40 or 50 copper coins. Without a second word, he turned and went into the house, and when he came out again, he had 3 chunks of black cured meat in his hand, each the size of a palm. "Is this enough?" "Enough, thank you, Uncle Zhao." Lu Yun took the cured meat, and on his way, went to Old Man Lu's house next door, exchanging a small piece of earth dragon root for 2 liters of millet. Old Man Lu was an honest farmer, at first not daring to accept it. Lu Yun shoved the earth dragon root into his hand, saying it was for the children to boil porridge with. Only then did he accept it with profuse thanks, even giving a handful of dried dates. By the time Lu Yun returned to his own courtyard carrying the cured meat and millet, the sky was already darkening. In the main room, a bean-sized oil lamp was lit, its dim, yellow light flickering against the 4 walls. Lu Linger was squatting in front of the stove, building a fire, preparing to make wild vegetable soup. She puffed her cheeks, blowing into the stove, her small face smeared with smoke, black here and white there. Luan and Lu Ning were huddled by the stove, 2 pairs of eyes staring expectantly at the stove mouth, the sound of their rumbling stomachs clearly audible in the room. When Lu Yun pushed the door open, he brought in a gust of cold wind, causing the oil lamp to flicker several times. Lu Linger turned and saw the things in his hand, and was completely stunned. "Dad, I exchanged some things with the villagers for cured meat and millet." Lu Yun put the things on the stove, rolled up his sleeves. "No wild vegetable soup tonight. Dad will make you something good." Lu Linger widened her eyes, looking from the cured meat to Lu Yun, the expression on her face like she had seen something incredible. This person went out for a trip, not only didn't drink alcohol, but also brought back food and meat. Her first reaction wasn't happiness, but nervousness. Where did these things come from? He didn't do something unspeakable again, did he? Lu Yun didn't notice his daughter's expression. He was busy preparing the cured meat. He was a food delivery driver in his past life. It was true, but that was to make a living. His true passion was cooking. The identity of a food delivery driver instead allowed him to come into contact with the inner workings of various restaurant kitchens, stealing a lot of techniques. Cured meat might not look like much, but as long as it was handled properly, the taste could make you swallow your tongue. He first soaked the cured meat in hot water for a quarter of an hour, scraping off the black smoke-cured layer on the surface, revealing the red and white marbled meat underneath. Then he sliced it into thin slices about the thickness of a finger, each slice having a layer of transparent fat and deep red lean meat, the marbling distinct. After washing the millet, he didn't cook it directly, but first stir-fried it with low heat for a while, until the grains were slightly yellow, giving off a faint, scorched fragrance. The fire in the stove licked the bottom of the pot. Lu Yun laid the cured meat slices into the pot, one by one. After the iron pot was heated, the fat from the cured meat started to sizzle, the transparent fat slowly turning golden yellow, the edges curling slightly, a rich, salty aroma suddenly exploding, filling the entire room. Luan and Lu Ning's small noses twitched almost at the same time. "So fragrant." Lu Ning swallowed hard. "Big sister, what is Dad making? It's so fragrant." Luan tugged at Lu Linger's sleeve, his eyes fixed squarely on the pot. Lu Linger didn't speak. She bit her lip, watching Lu Yun's movements without blinking. She saw her father add water to the pot, then pour in the stir-fried millet, and cover the pot. Steam rose, carrying the fat and scorched aroma of the cured meat, surging in the dim lamplight. That smell was too fragrant. Fragrant to the point of unreality. Fragrant to the point of making her nose ache. Half an hour later, Lu Yun uncovered the lid, stirred it with a wooden spoon. The fat from the cured meat had completely melted into the millet porridge, every grain of rice having absorbed the meat juice, becoming plump and shiny. He crumbled the dried dates and sprinkled them in, then simmered it for a little longer. The sweet fragrance of the dates and the salty fragrance of the cured meat intertwined, wrapping the entire room in this scent. "It's done." Lu Yun served 4 big bowls, each bowl topped with 2 slices of golden cured meat. When Luan took the bowl, his small fingers were trembling. He blew on it twice, then impatiently shoved it into his mouth, grimacing because it was hot but unwilling to spit it out, mumbling, "Delicious. Daddy, this is delicious." Lu Ning buried her small face directly into the bowl, eating with a slurping sound, the corners of her mouth covered in grease, from time to time looking up and grinning at Lu Yun. Lu Linger was the most silent one. She held the bowl, head down, drinking the porridge in small sips, yet tears were dripping into the bowl, one by one. She didn't know why she was crying. Perhaps because she hadn't eaten such delicious food in a long time. Perhaps because this meal was made by the person she had hated for so long. Perhaps because she didn't dare to believe it. Didn't dare to believe that all of this was real. Why are you crying? Eat. Lu Yun's voice came from across the table, low yet gentle. Lu Linger hurriedly wiped her tears, not daring to look up. After finishing the meal, the two younger ones were so sleepy their eyelids were fighting. Lu Linger led her younger brother and sister into the inner room to settle them down. When she came out again, she found that Lu Yun had already cleaned the pots and bowls. She opened her mouth, wanting to say something, but in the end, didn't say a word, turning and going back into the inner room, closing the door. But she didn't fall asleep. She lay on the hard wooden bed, listening to Luan and Lu Ning's even breathing, her eyes staring at the pitch-black rafters. Dad is too strange today. First, he divided the porridge, then he brought back food and cured meat, and even cooked such a delicious meal. I don't have any impression of Dad cooking in my memory. He's changed, but he changed too suddenly. Suddenly enough to make me afraid. What if he changes back tomorrow? What if all this is just a dream? Lu Linger pulled the quilt over her face, forcing herself not to think about it. Lu Yun didn't sleep. He sat in the main room, the oil lamp already extinguished. In the darkness, he kept his eyes open, waiting for the middle of the night. Judging it was around the Zishur hour, and the dogs in the village had quieted down. He quietly pushed open the courtyard door, and with the help of the faint light of the snow, walked toward the old threshing ground in the center of the village. The threshing ground was a piece of ground that had been packed down, used by villagers to thresh grain and dry wheat in summer, and left deserted in winter, covered with a thick layer of snow. Lu Yun made his way to the center of the field, took a piece of sharpened wood from his bosom, and started to dig down. The frozen soil was hard as stone, each strike requiring his full strength. He dug for nearly half an hour, when the wood suddenly hit something hard, making a dull, crisp sound. He lay down and used his hands to dig away the loose soil, and a rough pottery jar appeared before his eyes. Opening the jar, inside really lay 3 stalks of air-dried red bloodgrass and a small pile of copper coins. The copper coins were strung together with hemp rope. Lu Yun gathered the copper coins and counted them once. Exactly 320 coins. Not one more, not one less. Although the red bloodgrass had air-dried, its medicinal properties remained, the leaves dark red, feeling warm to the touch. He stuffed the items into his bosom, and just as he was preparing to bury the jar back, he suddenly heard a series of footsteps approaching not far away. Lu Yun's heart suddenly tightened. Pitch black and high wind. Who would come to the threshing ground? He squatted in place without moving, his back pressed tightly against a low haystack on the ground, holding his breath. The footsteps came closer and closer, crunching on the snow, and it sounded like more than one person. Lu Yun glanced out from a crack in the haystack. In the moonlight it was clear. It was Lu Daniu again, followed by 2 other village loafers, one called Er Lizi, the other called Ma Kazi, neither of them good people. The 3 were carrying wine gourds, stinking of alcohol, staggering past the edge of the threshing ground. Brother Nyo, why do you say that brat ran to the foot of the mountain today? Er Lizi asked with a hiccup. Who knows? Hope he freezes to death. Lu Daniu took a swig of wine, his tone unkind. I get angry just seeing him today. I don't know why, but I just feel blocked in my heart, as if something was snatched away by someone. What could he possibly snatch from you? A piece of trash. I can't clearly say. Lu Daniu paused, suddenly cursing a dirty word. Damn it, starting tomorrow, I'll watch him dead. See what exactly he's playing at. The 3 of them talked and talked as they walked away, their voices dissipating in the wind. Lu Yun waited until they had completely disappeared before slowly standing up, a chill rising in his heart. Lu Daniu, this kind of brute, was hard to deal with, but if he really were watched by him, the subsequent trip to the cave to retrieve the technique and body-quenching pills would be troublesome. But that was tomorrow's business. Now, he had more important things to do. He slipped home quietly, bolted the courtyard door, and after confirming the 3 children were all fast asleep, only then did he light the remaining fire in the stove, and put the remaining part of the earth dragon root, together with the 2 stalks of red blood grass, into the pot to boil. After the earth dragon root entered the water, it softened quickly, the soup color turning into a deep, amber color. The red blood grass leaves unfolded, releasing strands of dark red medicinal power. The whole pot of water rolled, bubbling with fist-sized bubbles. Lu Yun took a deep breath, picked up the boiled medicinal soup, and drank it in one go. The boiling hot liquid slid down his throat into his stomach. At first just a touch of warmth, then immediately, that warmth suddenly exploded, turning into a ball of raging fire. That heat flow erupted from his dantian, rushing along his meridians to all 4 limbs and 100 bones, as if someone had ignited a volcano inside his body. His skin turned red at a speed visible to the naked eye, veins bulging one by one, every inch of muscle twitching violently. He could feel those medicinal powers tearing apart the old tissues in his body, and then rebuilding and being reborn at an incredible speed. The muscles that had been sluggish and loose from long-term alcohol abuse started to tense up, his bones making faint clicking sounds, as if they were being forged anew. The bit of thin spiritual energy in his dantian was also stirred up by the medicinal power. Although it didn't grow, it became more solid, like a pile of loose sand being rammed into a foundation. The original owner's body was as if it had been dismantled healed from the inside out, and then reassembled exactly as it was. His bones became denser, his muscles tighter, his blood vessels more elastic, even his breathing became smoother and deeper. Half an hour later, Lu Yun opened his eyes. He looked down at his arms, a thin outline of muscle already appearing on his withered arms, a layer of gray-black filth oozing from the surface of his skin, this being the impurities accumulated in his body being forced out by the medicinal power. He squeezed his fist, his knuckles making a series of cracking sounds. After clenching it, a real sense of power surged from his palm. He could feel that his physical strength had increased by at least 3 levels, although it was still some distance from the bronze skin realm. With this foundation, as long as he got the tiger roaring golden bell shield technique, entry would be a matter of course. Lu Yun washed off the filth on his body, changed into his only clean piece of coarse cloth shirt, and sat by the stove, looking at the brightening sky outside the window, a smile floating on the corners of his mouth. When dawn breaks, I'll go to Kangwu Mountain. I am determined to get that scroll of tiger roaring golden bell shield. The morning light leaked in through a hole in the window, gray and white, carrying a dry chill. When Lu Yun opened his eyes, the remaining fire in the stove had completely died, and the room was as cold as an ice cellar. He sat up from the hard bed, moved his shoulders, his knuckles making fine clicking sounds. Last night's medicinal power hadn't completely dissipated, the warm feeling in his body like a small flame buried in ashes, not raging, but real. He didn't rush to get out of bed. Instead, he silently said in his heart, "System, start today's opportunity search." That mechanical voice responded almost instantly. Host, Lu Yun. Search range, 10 li from the host's location. Today's opportunity search is complete. 3 opportunities have been marked. Opportunity 1, white. 2 feet underground at the southeast corner of the abandoned charcoal kiln. 3 li south of the village. Buried is a jar of sealed winter honey. 12 gene in total. The honey is pure, can tonify the middle and boost qi, and moisten and nourish the viscera. Long-term consumption can accelerate the absorption of medicine for low-level body refiners. Used in conjunction with body-quenching pills, the effect is even better. Also included is a rough pottery charcoal stove and an iron pot. Both are complete and usable items. 12 gene of winter honey, and it comes with a stove and a pot. Although it is a white level, lowest tier opportunity, its advantage lies in its practicality. Honey can nourish the bodies of the 3 children, and assist in my own tempering of the flesh. 1 item with 2 uses. Opportunity 2, blue. On the west side of the main peak of Kangwu Mountain, about 6 li from the host's location, there is a natural cave entrance sealed by an ice waterfall. Deep inside the cave, it connects to a small geothermal branch. Although it is not a top-grade spiritual vein, the geothermal power is gentle and stable, adding an extra bonus to the bronze skin tempering of low-level body refiners. It can speed up the cultivation of the tiger roaring golden bell shield by about 30%. There is also a 100-year-old cold pool grass in the cave, cold in nature, capable of neutralizing the meridian burns during geothermal body tempering. It is a key auxiliary material for refining first-grade body-quenching pills. Lu Yun's eyelids twitched. The configuration of this cave was simply tailored for him. Geothermal branch to add to the bronze skin tempering. 100-year-old cold pool grass to accompany the first-grade body-quenching pills. Techniques, pills, cultivation, cave dwelling. The 3 were perfectly integrated. Even a blue opportunity had such value. The follow-up support for high-level cultivation made him secretly look forward to it. Opportunity 3, green. Hidden under the base of the land deity statue at the abandoned land temple in the northwest corner of Lu family village, are 120 taels of silver privately hoarded by the former village chief Lu Guangchuan, gained from embezzling clan assets during his lifetime. He did not have time to account for it before his death. Also included is a handwritten tax record of Lu family village by him, detailing the authenticity of the village's tax accounts over the last decade, involving several shady dealings by the current village chief, Lu Yukai, such as falsely reporting farmland and embezzling tax money. Lu Yun sat up straight, the figure of 120 taels of silver making his head buzz. The great Ning dynasty was at war on the borders for years. Taxes collected up to the year after next. For a household in the village, after all kinds of exploitation, being able to have 3 taels of silver left at the end of the year was considered a blessing. 120 taels. Enough for him to pay off all the outstanding taxes, and to buy a set of useful body refining equipment, perhaps even to rent a proper shop in town. But what really made his heart race was that tax record of Lu family village. Lu Yukai was a pawn planted by Lu Zhao in Lu family village to watch over him. The original owner knew this early on, but the original owner always thought Lu Yukai was just a running dog, at most regularly passing a message to Qingzhou City. But if this account book was real, Lu Yukai had been falsely reporting farmland and embezzling tax money in the village all these years. The amount he embezzled was not a small sum. Once these matters were exposed, Lu Yukai would not be able to keep his position as village chief, and his backer in Qingzhou City would also be dragged into the mud. Lu Yun took a deep breath, suppressing the excitement. The items were right under the base of the land deity statue at the land temple. The land temple was less than 1 li from his house. Going in the daytime would be too eye-catching. He had to wait until dark. However, he had to go to Kangwu Mountain first today to retrieve the tiger-roaring golden bell shield and the body-quenching pills. The cave with the blue opportunity was also on the west side of the main peak, which was on his way. As for the jar of winter honey in the charcoal kiln, he could dig it up on the way back, which wouldn't delay things. He calculated clearly in his mind, flipped off the bed, stepped into those broken cloth shoes with worn-out soles, and lightly pushed open the kitchen door. The 3 children were still sleeping in the inner room. Luan was snoring softly. Lu Ning had one leg draped over her sister, her sleeping posture so untamed it didn't look like that of a 5-year-old girl. Lu Linger was sleeping primly, but her brow was furrowed, as if she were guarding against something even in her dreams. Lu Yun didn't wake them. He chopped the remaining cured meat from last night into small cubes, put them into the pot with the millet, and rummaged from the corner of the stove for the handful of dried dates old man Lu had given, washing them and crumbling them into the pot. He rebuilt the fire in the stove, the flames licking the bottom of the pot. Before long, the porridge in the pot started to bubble with a gurgling sound. The salty fragrance of the cured meat and the sweet fragrance of the dates stirred together, floating through the door crack into the inner room. The first to wake was Lu Ning. The little girl twitched her nose, and before her eyes were even open, her body was already arching toward the kitchen, following the scent. Then came Luan, doing a carp leap to sit up, his head hitting the dried vegetable basket hanging from the rafter, grimacing in pain but not making a sound, jumping off the bed and running toward the kitchen. Daddy! Luan clung to the kitchen door frame, his eyes sparkling as he stared into the pot. Is there meat porridge to drink today too? Yes, go wash up, and call your sister to get up. Luan turned and ran, his small feet patting on the ground with a rhythmic sound. When Lu Linger was shaken awake by her brother, she had a moment of trance. She smelled the meat fragrance again, the exact same meat fragrance as last night. She hadn't slept well almost all night, tossing and turning, thinking about why her father had suddenly changed, thinking about how many days this good life could last. She was now opening her eyes and looking at the dried vegetable basket on the rafter that was still swaying from Lu En's bump, her heart a complete mess. When she walked into the kitchen, 4 bowls of porridge were already placed on the table, the same as last night, each bowl topped with 2 slices of golden cured meat. Sit down and eat. Dad has something to tell you after you eat. Lu Linger sat down silently, picked up the bowl, and drank in small sips. The porridge was still as fragrant, the fat from the cured meat, seeping into every grain of millet, scalding the tip of her tongue. But she still drank very slowly, as if using the time of this bowl of porridge to digest the strange father before her eyes. After finishing the meal, Lu Yun pulled Lu Linger aside, and fished a string of 100 copper coins from his bosom, placing them into her hand. Lu Linger looked down at the heavy string of copper coins in her palm, and was completely stunned. You keep this money. Dad is going up the mountain today, and will be back before dark. There is still leftover porridge in the pot. You can heat it up at noon. If Dad is late coming back, you go to Hunter Zhao Laosan's house to buy some meat. Don't scrimp. You are all still growing. Lu Linger clutched the copper coins tightly, her knuckles turning white. She opened her mouth, wanting to ask something, but her throat felt like it was stuffed with a ball of cotton, not able to squeeze out a single word. She only felt that the 100 copper coins in her palm were burning hot, burning her eye sockets until they started to ache again. Dad, she finally squeezed out a sound, her voice thin and hoarse. It's dangerous on the mountain. I'm fine. Dad has a plan in his heart. Lu Yun paused for a moment, squatted down, and fished something else from his bosom to place on the table. It was a wooden hairpin he had casually carved last night. He handed it to Lu Linger, saying, Linger, this is for you. The craftsmanship is a bit poor. When Dad goes into town one day, I'll buy you another one. Lu Linger took the wooden hairpin, looking down at the crooked peachwood branch in her hand, her lips trembling several times, tears dripping onto the table, drip by drip. This thing wouldn't be considered a proper item in the eyes of any young lady of a wealthy family, but in this drafty mud-walled room, and in the hands of the man she had once hated to death, this peachwood hairpin was heavier than anything else. Lu Yun rubbed her head, stood up, pushed open the courtyard door, and strode out. Lu Linger chased to the courtyard gate, clutching the peachwood hairpin in her hand, watching his back go further and further away in the gray morning light, until he disappeared behind the old locust tree at the end of the village road. She sniffled hard, holding back her tears, turning and returning to the kitchen, carefully hiding the 100 copper coins into a broken earthenware pot at the bottom of the stove, and then starting to tidy up the bowls and chopsticks. Luan and Lu Ning had finished their porridge, and were squatting in the courtyard, drawing on the snow with sticks, their laughter crisp. While washing the dishes, Lu Linger made a decision in her heart. If Dad returned safely today, she would try to believe him once. Lu Yun left the village, following the snowy path he had stepped out yesterday toward the direction of the main peak of Kangwu Mountain. The snow had stopped, but the sky was still gloomy, the north wind scraping against his face like a small knife. After walking for about 2 li, an abandoned charcoal kiln appeared by the side of the road, the half-collapsed kiln roof piled with snow, the kiln mouth black like an open mouth. He followed the location marked by the system to the southeast corner of the charcoal kiln, squatted down, and started to dig the soil. The soil here was not as hard as the thresh refreshing ground, and after digging for less than a stick of incense's time, he hit a hard jar mouth. He cleared the loose soil around the jar, and with a surge of strength, pulled the jar from the soil. The jar mouth was sealed with a thick layer of wax, and through the wax layer, one could see the amber honey inside, giving off a warm luster in the faint daylight. Beside the jar was indeed buried a rough pottery charcoal stove and an iron pot. Although the iron pot was coarse, its advantage was that it was complete, much better than the broken pot full of cracks at home. He wiped the items clean with snow, bound the jar, stove, and iron pot into a backpack with withered vines, hid them in an inconspicuous corner inside the charcoal kiln, and blocked it with a few broken kiln bricks, making a mark. I will come to collect them when I come down from the mountain. After finishing all this, he straightened his back, looking forward. The main peak of Kangwoo Mountain stood silently under the gray skyline. From the mountainside up, it was swallowed by lead-colored clouds. Unable to see the summit clearly, the pine forests on both sides of the mountain path were covered with icicles, making a jingling sound whenever the wind blew, as if something was tapping on broken jade deep in the forest. Lu Yun wrapped his tattered cotton jacket tighter, took a deep breath, and stepped toward the mountain. The higher the mountain path went, the steeper it became. The accumulated snow, from ankle deep, gradually reached the calves, every step requiring him to pull his leg out of the snow and step down again, as if walking in a quagmire. Lu Yun hadn't even walked 3 li before sweat had already broken out on his forehead, the white breath he exhaled forming a layer of thin frost on his eyebrows. But his heart was steady. The medicinal power from last night was still slowly circulating in his body. Although tired, he was not gasping like a dog after 2 steps as he was yesterday. Main peak, southeast side, about 8 li. As he walked, he repeatedly compared the location information given by the system in his mind. A hidden cave covered by vines. A natural crack on the left wall 15 zhang deep in the cave. Caves like this hidden in the mountains, without the system's guidance. Even if you turned the whole mountain over, you might not find it. When he walked about 7 li, the terrain suddenly became steep. On his left-hand side was a cliff, the cliff face covered with icicles, and on his right-hand side was an impenetrable pine forest, the tree trunks intertwined with withered vines and thorns. Lu Yun pushed aside a cluster of withered shrubs taller than a person, and before his eyes appeared a protruding rock platform. At the end of the platform was a stone wall completely covered by vines. He leaned in to take a closer look. The roots of those vines were deeply embedded in the stone crevices, the surface covered with a layer of ice shell. Feeling rock-hard when tapped, he reached out and pulled aside a few thick vines, and sure enough, a narrow gap was revealed between the stones, just enough for a person to squeeze in sideways. Lu Yun didn't rush to go in, instead squatting down to grab a handful of snow to rub his hands, allowing his fingers to regain some flexibility. Then he fished a fire starter from his bosom, blew it until it glowed, and squeezed into that stone crack little by little, sideways. After moving about 3 zhang into the crack, the view suddenly opened up. A naturally formed cave appeared before him. The entrance was not big, but the interior was a different world. Stalactites hung down from the ceiling of the cave, the ground a layer of dry gravel, the air permeated with a stale, earthy smell. The light from the fire starter shone forward, shadows swaying on the cave walls. Lu Yun had no mind to admire the scenery, holding the fire starter and walking step by step into the depths, silently counting his steps in his heart. 10 zhang, 12 zhang, 15 zhang. He stopped, and held up the fire starter to shine on the left wall. The stone wall was covered with fine cracks, looking no different from ordinary rock at a glance. But leaning in to look closely, the direction of one of the cracks was clearly more regular, as if it had been pried open from the inside by something. Lu Yun inserted the fire starter into a stone crevice, picked up a piece of broken stone with sharp corners from the ground, and pried hard against the edge of the crack. The broken stone crumbled away, and behind the crack, a long, strip-like object wrapped tightly in oilcloth was revealed. Beside it also a cyan porcelain bottle the size of a fist. Lu Yun first picked up the cyan porcelain bottle, opened the stopper, and poured 1 pill into his palm. A pill the size of a longan rolled out, the surface dark brown, emitting a strong medicinal fragrance. Just smelling it once made his nasal cavity feel fiery. First-grade body-quenching pills, 9 of them, in perfect condition. He carefully put the pills back, plugged the bottle tightly, and placed it inside his bosom against his skin. Then he picked up the oilcloth package. It felt heavy as soon as it hit his hand. He unwrapped it layer by layer, and the innermost layer revealed dark yellow paper, the texture rough, the edges already turning black, but the handwriting on it was still clearly legible. The 5 large characters on the cover, Tiger Roaring Golden Bell Shield. Lu Yun took a deep breath, and flipped open a page, densely packed. Small regular script was accompanied by meridian diagrams, with small red ink annotations on the side. Use the sound of the tiger's roar to shake the muscles and bones. Use the shape of the golden bell to temper the skin and flesh. Below the iron bone realm, each advancement in level, makes the skin like bronze and iron, the bones like gold and stone. Upon reaching the chi pulse realm, corresponding to the golden core stage, rage. One can transform the tiger's roar into a tangible sound wave, shattering stones within 3 feet, impervious to swords and spears, capable of resisting 10,000 jin. A line of text at the signature, Lei Jiuxiao, left in the 372nd year of the Great Ning calendar, 12th lunar month. Lu Yun wrapped the technique back up, and hid it close to his body along with the body-quenching pills. He was just about to turn and walk out, when he suddenly heard a faint sound from outside the cave. The sound of stepping on snow. Not just one person. He instantly extinguished the fire starter, leaned against the cave wall, and cocked his ear to listen. The footsteps got closer and closer, accompanied by low conversation. Lizzie, did you see clearly, you bastard? Did that brat really come this way? It was Lu Daniu's voice, coarse and low, even whispering sounding like he was roaring. Brother Nyo, why would I lie to you? I saw with my own eyes that he entered this pine forest, alone. Sneaky. There must be something fishy. Lizzie's voice was sharp and thin, fawning enough to make one's skin crawl. I felt something was wrong with this kid yesterday, running around the mountain in this cold weather. He must be hiding something good. What could a piece of trash like him possibly have? Think about it, Brother Nyo. He is, after all, the eldest son of the Qingzhou Lu family. A skinny camel is still bigger than a horse. What if the old patriarch secretly left him something valuable back then? At the very worst, he still has a few taels of broken silver on him. The footsteps were getting closer, right outside the stone wall. Why are there so many vines in this place? Lu Daniu kicked the stone wall impatiently. Damn it, this broken mountain doesn't even have a decent road. Brother Nyo, it seems like that kid disappeared somewhere around here. Lizzie paused. Could it be? There's a cave behind this stone wall? Lu Yun's heart sank an inch. His gaze quickly scanned the terrain inside the cave. Except for retreating deeper, there was no other exit. But he couldn't retreat. God knows if this cave had another exit. If it were a dead end, getting blocked inside would truly leave him helpless. Better to go out proactively. He wrapped the technique tight, patted the porcelain bottle on his chest to confirm it was secure, then took a deep breath, squeezed sideways through the stone crack, pushed aside the vines, and strode out. Lizzie was busy feeling around on the stone wall, and when he suddenly saw the vines being pushed aside from within, he jumped back in fright, almost landing in the snow pile on his butt. Lu Daniu, however, reacted quickly, immediately gripping the thick wooden stick in his hand, his triangular eyes staring fixedly at Lu Yun walking out of the stone crack. Yo, isn't this young Master Lu? Lu Daniu pulled the corners of his mouth, revealing a fake, mocking smile. Drilling into a mountain cave in heavy snow. What are you doing? Behind him stood Ma Casey, holding a wood-chopping axe in his hand, standing there with crooked shoulders, his 2 bow legs straddling in the snow, looking indescribably comical. Lu Yun patted the broken ice off his sleeve, and said flatly, none of your business. None of my business. Lu Daniu took a step forward, the flesh on his face twitching. This Kangwu mountain is the village's territory. You sneaking into a mountain cave. Who knows if you've stolen things from the village? Take out whatever you're hiding, and let me take a look. Lizzie climbed up from the snow, also emboldening himself to crowd up, helping out with a mocking tone. Exactly. Brother Nyo is the village chief's son. Everything in the village is under his management. You take the stuff out. If it's just some worthless trash, Brother Nyo might just raise his hand and let you go. Lu Yun looked at his sharp-mouthed, monkey-cheeked face, and suddenly laughed. What if I don't take it out? Don't? Lu Daniu's smile faded, fierce light appearing in his triangular eyes. Then I'll help you take it out. I'm in a bad mood today anyway. Beating you up to vent some anger wouldn't be bad. He planted the thick wooden stick into the snow, the stick entering the snow for half a foot, kicking up a spray of snow. You chose this yourself. Don't blame me for being ruthless. Ma Casey chuckled twice, walked a few steps to the side, and blocked Lu Yun's path down the mountain. Lizzie also circled to the side, the 3 of them surrounding Lu Yun in a triangle formation. Lu Yun looked at their posture, his face expressionless. To put it plainly, they were just here to rob him. Rob if you want to rob, but you still have to insist on dragging in village territory. Your skin is thicker than the village millstone. While he was speaking, he slowly moved his shoulders, his knuckles popping a few times. Lu Daniu, how much black-hearted money your father, Lu Yukai, has embezzled in the village. Do you have no idea? You, the village chief's son, everything you eat and wear was scraped from the villagers' mouths, and you still have the nerve to ask if I've stolen anything? You are a beast, even without wearing that dog skin of yours. Lizzie's face changed, and he cursed in a shrill voice. You are courting death. Relying on the tall and sturdy Lu Daniu behind him for support, he was the first to pounce toward Lu Yun, one claw reaching directly for Lu Yun's collar. In his impression, Lu Yun was just a piece of trash hollowed out by booze and lust, easily toppled by a push, easily shattered by a touch, not needing Brother Nyo to take action at all. Lu Yun watched the speed of that reaching claw, feeling only that it was as slow as scooping things underwater. He reached his hand out from his sleeve, and grabbed Lizzie's wrist in one go, all 5 fingers exerting force at the same time, like iron pliers clamping onto a dry stick. Snap! The sound of bones breaking was clear and piercing. Lizzie froze for a moment, then a miserable scream like a slaughtered pig burst from his throat, his whole body bending like a boiled shrimp, snot and tears covering his face. Lu Yun loosened his grip, and kicked him in the chest. Lizzie flew backward for 4 or 5 feet, plunging plunging headfirst into the snow pile, his two legs twitching outside for a few moments, before he made no more sound. Mackenzie's eyes widened, his grip on the wood-chopping axe tightening, but his two bowlegs involuntarily took a step back. Lu Danyu's face had also changed. He stared fixedly at Lu Yun, as if looking at a completely unfamiliar person. "You, when the hell did you practice this?" Lu Danyu's voice was tight. Lu Yun didn't answer him, instead bending down to pick up a thick tree trunk buried halfway in the snow. This trunk was the thickness of a forearm, one end eaten hollow by insects, the other end still carrying broken branches. Looking thick and heavy, he weighed it in his hand, and looked up at Mackenzie. Mackenzie felt his scalp tingle under his gaze, gritted his teeth, swung his axe, and charged up. He had a limp, running with a hobble, but that brute strength was true. The axe descended with a whistling sound. Lu Yun avoided it sideways, and that tree trunk, thicker than his calf, swept across. No tricks, no techniques, just pure crushing power. When the trunk hit Mackenzie's chest, it let out a dull, loud thud, as if someone had used a heavy hammer to smash a mud wall. Mackenzie flew more than a zhang away, axe and all, hitting a pine tree, the accumulated snow falling down to cover him. He lay in the snow, madly spitting out 2 mouthfuls of blood foam, staining a large, shocking area of deep red. Then his head tilted to one side, and he didn't move. Lu Danyu's eyes were already red, but the last thing he saw was the tree trunk sweeping over from a tricky angle. He subconsciously raised the wooden stick to block. The trunk and the stick collided, the stick breaking into 2 pieces, the trunk continuing with unabated momentum, smashing into his face. After a dull grunt that didn't sound like it came from a human mouth, Lu Danyu fell backward in the snow, his eye socket split, blood streaming down from his face, his body convulsing twice before moving no more. Lu Yun dropped the trunk, standing in place and panting for a few breaths, thick white air spewing from his nose and mouth, forming large clumps of mist in the cold air. He looked down at his hands, a red mark rubbed into his palm by the rough bark, but his knuckles were intact, his skin and flesh intact, not even a single break. The medicinal power of those 2 stalks of red blood grass and 1 stalk of earth dragon root hadn't been fully used yet. The foundation of his body had already far exceeded the scope of ordinary people. He walked over and dragged the corpses of Mackenzie and Lu Danyu, lining them up together. These 3 people were the ones who tried to rob him first, and tried to kill him after. He felt no psychological burden at all when taking action. This is the way the world is. Either you eat people, or people eat you. There is no to speak of. Then he searched the items on the 3 people. In Lu Danyu's bosom, was 2 tails of broken silver and a dagger. Although the dagger was smashed and bent during the fight, the iron quality was good, and it could be brought back to be polished again. Mackenzie had over 20 copper coins and a piece of dry food on him. Erlizy was the poorest, having only 3 copper coins and a ball of thread for mending. He gathered everything together, stuffing the valuable things into his pockets, and throwing the worthless ones to the side. Then he pushed the 3 corpses deep into the cave behind the stone crack, and found a few large rocks to block the stone crack tightly. Deep natural caves like this usually have earth cracks or underground rivers, and the corpses would be disposed of by wild animals or flowing water before long. As for whether anyone in the village would look for them after these 3 disappeared, Lu Danyu was used to bullying and dominating in his daily life, running out to drink and make trouble every 3 days, so it wouldn't be strange if he went missing for 10 days or half a month. After finishing all this, the sky had already darkened. He didn't rush down the mountain, instead leaning against the stone wall and fishing out dry food from his bosom, eating a few bites with snow water. Then he closed his eyes, silently recalling the circulation route of the tiger-roaring golden bell shield in his mind. The next step was to find that cave marked by the system. Blue opportunity, geothermal branch, 100-year-old cold pool grass, a booster for bronze skin tempering. According to the system's description, the cave entrance was sealed by an ice waterfall, which should be somewhere on the mountainside near a water source. He searched along the mountain ridge on the west side of the main peak for nearly half an hour, and finally, at the end of a dried-up creek, saw a stone wall covered by an ice layer. Through the ice layer, a pitch-black cave entrance was vaguely visible. The ice waterfall wasn't thick, and Lu Yun opened the entrance after chiseling a few times with his dagger. As soon as he stepped into the cave, a warm airflow rushed toward his face, forming a sharp contrast with the severe cold outside the cave. The further he went, the higher the temperature became, fine sulfur crystals appearing on the cave walls, and a faint smell of sulfur permeating the air. After walking for about half a stick of incense, a vast underground space appeared before his eyes. In the center of the ground, a half-zhang wide crack split open, dark red light leaping faintly deep in the crack. Geothermal branch. Beside the crack was a naturally formed stone pit, the bottom of the pit filled with a pool of clear, cold water, about 3 feet square, a thin layer of mist floating on the surface of the water. In a stone crevice by the pool grew a grass that was entirely silver white, the leaves long and thin like an orchid, the roots translucent, and it was vaguely visible that liquid was flowing inside. 100-year-old cold pool grass. This is it. Lu Yun took a deep breath, feeling the geothermal power and the chill of the cold pool clashing in the air, the alternation of cold and heat landing on his skin. This place was the first foundation for his turnaround. He found a level spot by the pool and sat down, fished out the scroll of Tiger Roaring Golden Bell Shield from his bosom, and flipped to the first first page, reading it word by word in the dim light of the geothermal fire. While reading, he memorized the circulation route of qi in every meridian, occasionally looking up to ponder for a moment, and then repeatedly deducing it in his mind. After a long time, he slowly stood up, spreading the technique on the ground, opened the cyan porcelain bottle, and poured out the first body-quenching pill, swallowed it, and leaped into the cold pool. The pool water was icy and bone-chilling, but as soon as he entered the water, he felt the warmth transmitted by the geothermal branch through the stone wall. Two forces, cold and hot, acted on his body simultaneously. The medicinal power of the body-quenching pill exploded in his dantian, like a ball of ignited gunpowder, rushing wildly along the meridians toward all 4 limbs and 100 bones. He gritted his teeth, and started to guide the medicinal power according to the circulation route of the tiger-roaring golden bell shield. There are no days or months in the cave, only the dark light of the geothermal fire leaping eternally on the stone walls. The geothermal fire leaped in the depths of the stone crack, the dark red light flickering, illuminating the entire cave like a burning red alchemy furnace. Lu Yun sat cross-legged in the cold pool, the icy cold water submerging his waist and abdomen, while the scorching heat from the geothermal branch transmitted through the stone wall roasted his upper body red. Cold and hot combined, ice and fire duel. This extreme method of tempering would have shattered the meridians of an ordinary person, but for a body refiner, it was the supreme method for tempering the flesh. After the first body-quenching pill entered his stomach, the medicinal power was completely absorbed in less than half an hour. The barriers of the first 3 stages of the bronze skin realm, under the dual impact of medicinal power and geothermal fire, were as brittle as paper, breaking at a single poke. A faint, bronze-colored luster began to appear on the surface of his skin, and a dull, metallic sound could be heard when tapping it with fingers. But this was far from enough. Tiger-roaring golden bell shield is divided into 10 stages, corresponding to the 10 small stages of the bronze skin realm. The first 3 stages are just entry, building the foundation. The real threshold starts from the 4th stage. Above the 4th stage, each breakthrough requires multiple times the medicinal power and extreme tempering of the flesh. For an ordinary body refiner, going from the 3rd to the 4th stage, without the assistance of pills, one couldn't even touch the threshold without 3 to 5 months of grinding effort. Lu Yun poured out all the remaining 8 body-quenching pills. 8 longan-sized pills lay in his palm, the dark brown pills emitting a dim, dark light under the reflection of the geothermal fire, the strong medicinal fragrance making his nasal cavity sting. A normal cultivator taking a first-grade body-quenching pill would spend at least 1 day refining just 1 pill, proceeding step by step. Otherwise, the excessive medicinal power would easily damage the meridians. But Lu Yun discovered while refining the first one, that his body's absorption rate of medicinal power far exceeded the normal standard recorded in the technique. 5-element mixed spiritual roots, which are a fatal shortcoming in qi refining, could, on the path of body refining, make his meridians wider and more flexible than those of a person with single attribute roots. It's just the difference between a wild grass and a famous flower. A famous flower is delicate, damaged by the slightest wind or rain. A wild grass is hardy, growing regardless of fire or blade. His mixed spiritual roots are like the root system of that wild grass that has been repeatedly pulled and stretched by various forces. Although messy, it is extraordinarily tough, capable of enduring medicinal impacts far beyond those of a single root cultivator. This is what is called losing at the eastern corner, but gaining at the western corner. Lu Yun threw his head back, and shoved all 8 body-quenching pills into his mouth. The pills melted as they touched his mouth, the medicinal power of 8 pills erupting simultaneously, like 8 fire dragons pouring into his dantian, and then madly rushing along the meridians toward his 4 limbs and 100 bones. At that moment, Lu Yun felt his body being torn apart, not a metaphor, but a real sensation of being torn. Countless fine blood patterns exploded on the surface of his skin, and the blood, before it could flow out, was evaporated into dark red mist by the heat surging from within his body. If it were an ordinary cultivator, this medicinal power would be enough to blow him into fragments from the inside out. But Lu Yun's meridians played their role at this moment. The thick meridians, like great rivers, distributed, absorbed, and guided the manic medicinal power. Each meridian was expanding and strengthening at a speed visible to the naked eye under the scouring of the medicinal power. He could feel his bones breaking, and then recondensing under the effect of the medicinal power. Breaking then condensing, condensing then breaking. Each cycle made the bones denser and harder. Pale golden patterns gradually appeared on the white bone surface. This is the hallmark of the mid-stage bronze skin realm. Bones with golden patterns, skin like bronze and iron. Still not enough. Lu Yun bit his tongue, using that stinging pain to stay awake, his hands forming a strange hand seal under the water. This hand seal is a body-tempering secret method recorded in the tiger-roaring golden bell shield technique, called the tiger crouching stance. Using the geothermal fire as a furnace, the cold pool as an anvil, and himself as iron, repeatedly forging, he slapped the water surface with one palm, his body borrowing force to soar into the air, adjusting his posture in mid-air, and then plunged toward the direction of the geothermal crack. His body hung directly above the geothermal crack, less than 3 feet away from the dark red magma. The geothermal fire's scorching heat wave rushed toward him, singeing his hair until it curled and scorched, the fine hair on his skin instantly turning to ash. At the same time, his back was bearing the icy cold mist rising from the cold pool surface. Cold and hot, two extremes, were crazily wrestling in his body. This is the ice and fire forged golden body required by the sixth stage of the tiger roaring golden bell shield. The technique was written clearly. This hurdle is extremely dangerous, not to be attempted by those without great perseverance. Lei Jiuxiao, in order to break through this hurdle, stayed in an abandoned sword casting furnace for 7 days and 7 nights, only succeeding with the help of the furnace's geothermal fire, and the ice and snow from the mountain top. Afterward, he lay in bed for 2 months before recovering. Lu Yun didn't have 7 days and 7 nights, nor did he have a sword casting furnace or ice and snow, but he had a geothermal branch, a 100-year-old cold pool grass, and a set of meridians remodeled by red blood grass. More importantly, he had the toughness ground out from more than 20 years of struggling at the bottom of the world in his past life. The survival pressure of one delivery order being timed out resulting in a deduction, one bad review resulting in a day's work for nothing, had ground away all the affectation and retreat from an ordinary person. Endure it and live. Can't endure it and go hungry. He had understood this truth when delivering food in his past life. The heat wave of the geothermal fire penetrated his skin, scorching his flesh and bones. He could smell his own skin and flesh being scorched. But the tiger roaring golden bell shield technique was running crazily, transforming the geothermal fire's power into energy for tempering his flesh. The ice mist of the cold pool simultaneously surged in from behind, neutralizing the geothermal fire's violence, making that power controllable. 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. The skin and flesh on Lu Yun's body were scorched layer by layer, and then layer by layer reborn under the effect of medicinal power. Each rebirth made the skin color a shade deeper, gradually changing from the initial bronze to dark gold, and finally, flickering with a layer of faint bluish gray. That is the hallmark of the sixth stage of the bronze skin realm, cyan steel skin. When the last trace of medicinal power was completely absorbed, and the last thread of geothermal fire power fused into his bones, Lu Yun opened his eyes abruptly. A dark golden light flashed in the depths of his pupils, then disappeared. His skin, from head to toe, presented a low-key, restrained bluish-gray color, looking no different from an ordinary person's. But if you looked carefully, you would find that extremely fine golden patterns were slowly flowing beneath that layer of skin, like magma surging in the depths of the earth's crust. He took a deep breath. That breath was vigorous and long-lasting, stopping only after 10 full breaths. Then he slowly exhaled. A white, arrow-like breath sprang from his mouth, hitting the stone wall opposite, actually shattering a few pieces of stone. Lu Yun looked down at his own hands. When he clenched his fists, his knuckles made a series of crisp explosions, a visible ripple of air swirling on the surface of his clenched fist. He could feel the power hidden in this body. Compared to the piece of trash who would topple in the wind before going up the mountain, it was simply a world of difference. In a single day, the sixth stage of the bronze skin realm, he stood up from the cold pool, and discovered that his height seemed to have grown a bit. The sleeves of his originally loose, tattered cotton jacket now a bit short. The dead skin scorched by the geothermal fire on his body peeled off automatically, revealing the smooth and tough newborn skin underneath, feeling moist like jade to the touch, but leaving only a faint white mark when scraped with a dagger, without even breaking the outer skin. Lu Yun exhaled a long breath of turbid air, turned to look at that 100-year-old cold pool grass by the pool. This spiritual grass hadn't been used yet. The medicinal power of the body-quenching pills itself, combined with the geothermal fire power, was enough to push him to the sixth stage. This cold pool grass could be saved for a future breakthrough. He carefully picked the cold pool grass, wrapped it in oilcloth, and hid it close to his body. Then he looked around, took the scroll, and when he squeezed out of the cave, the sky outside had already turned completely dark. It was not known when snow had started falling again. The mountain wind, wrapped in snow particles, hit his face, but Lu Yun felt not a hint of cold. The sixth stage bronze skin realm body could already, to a certain extent, ignore this level of extreme cold. His skin automatically regulated the temperature, and the movement of blood and chi in his body dispersed the chill. With the faint light of the snow, he walked down the mountain all the way. The mountain road in the dark of night was harder to walk than during the day, but his pace was many times faster than when he was going up. His footsteps left only inch-deep shallow prints in the snow, while an ordinary person would sink to their thighs in the same snow. This wasn't intentional light-body martial arts, but the effect naturally brought about after the increase in physical strength. Every step he took, a surge of dark force from the soles of his feet slightly shook away the accumulated snow, before his foot landed. Reaching the abandoned charcoal kiln at the foot of the mountain, he took out the jar of winter honey, the rough pottery charcoal stove, and the iron pot he had hidden during the day, bundled them up with withered vines, and carried them on his back. 12 gin of winter honey was not light, but Lu Yun carried it on his back as if it were nothing, walking with vigor and vitality. He didn't return directly to the village, but circled to the northwest corner of the village. The abandoned land temple was right next to the old well at the entrance of the village. The half-collapsed temple door was crooked on one side. The deity statue in the temple had long since lost its head. Only a torso of mud sculpture left standing slantingly on the altar. Villagers despised this place, thinking it unlucky, and no one came here on ordinary days, not even a footprint in the snow. Lu Yun flashed into the temple gate gate, and followed the location marked by the system to find the base of the deity statue. He used his dagger to pry open a few loose bricks on the side of the base, and reached in to probe, his fingertips touching something cold. A locked iron box. He placed his palm on the lock, used the strength of his 5 fingers to twist, and the copper lock was twisted out of shape in his hand like a piece of tofu. Snap and broke. Opening the box. 6 ingots of snowflake silver were neatly arranged inside. 20 taels each. Exactly 120 taels. The silver surface was as bright as a mirror, emitting a soft luster under the oil lamp. On top of the silver ingots lay a yellowed account book, the cover inscribed with the 7 characters. Tax record of Lu family village. The handwriting was mature, the ink already darkened. The white silver emitted a soft luster under the faint snow light. Lu Yun examined it for a moment, took out the silver pieces one by one, wrapped them in the lining of his tattered cotton jacket, and hid the account book close to his body. His movements were very light, but his heart was still beating a little faster. 120 taels of silver. In this world, an ordinary farmer couldn't save so much money in a lifetime. His gaze lingered on the cover of the account book for a moment. Lu Guangchuan, former village chief, died of illness in office 10 years ago. It was said he was delirious before he died, and everyone in the clan thought he was just a senile old fool. But now it seems, this old village chief was very clear-headed. He just didn't dare to make these things public, because once revealed, there would be too many people wanting to deal with him. That's why he hid the account book and silver in this broken temple where no one comes, waiting for the day to be discovered. 10 years, no one had come, until tonight. Lu Yun stuffed the iron box back into the base of the deity statue, found a few broken bricks to block the entrance, and used snow to smooth over the traces around it. Then, he carried the winter honey jar and the cooking utensils, and left the land temple silently. The snow was falling even harder, cotton-like snow falling down, soon filling in the footprints he had left behind. The entire Lu family village was wrapped in a thick quilt of snow, not even a dog barking, as quiet as a grave. Just as Lu Yun was returning to the village treading through the night, inside the Lu family mansion in Qingzhou City, lights were bright. In a flower hall in the west courtyard of the mansion, high-grade silver thread charcoal was burning, warmth filling the air, as if it were a different world from the ice and snow outside. A middle-aged woman in a dark purple silk jacket and skirt was reclining on a soft couch, holding a cup of ginseng tea in her hand, her well-maintained face unable to reveal her true age. A pair of phoenix eyes were half-closed, as if she were resting her mind. Beside her stood a middle-aged man in a green long gown, bowed and hunched, his posture extremely humble. This person was called Zhao Quan, the son of the Lu family's head butler, Zhao Dicai, and one of Lu Zhao's confidants. Zhao Dicai had worked hard for the old master for a lifetime, and his status in the Lu family was higher than some collateral clan members. Zhao Quan followed his father's footsteps, now specifically in charge of the miscellaneous affairs of Lu Zhao's house. Madam, Zhao Quan lowered his voice, not daring to disturb the person on the couch. There is news. Lu Zhao's biological mother, Lu Yun's stepmother, slowly opened her eyes. There was not a hint of laziness in those phoenix eyes, only cold sharpness, and deep-seated calculation. She placed the teacup on the small table beside her, and tucked the corners of her mouth with a handkerchief, her voice neither flat nor indifferent. Speak. The people from the sect arrived this evening, and invited the second young master to the drunken Immortal pavilion in the east of the city. The second young master sent word back saying, the other party is an outer sect deacon of the Qingyang sect, named Wu. After Deacon Wu saw the second young master's aptitude, he made a decision on the spot, saying that a piece of heavenly spiritual root material is wasted in a small place like Qingzhou. He will take the second young master back to the sect in a few days, and take him in directly as an inner sect disciple. The corners of Lu's mouth finally raised a smile, but that smile didn't have half a degree of warmth, instead making people feel a chill down their spines. Qingyang sect. She slowly repeated the 3 words, a flash of brilliance passing through her eyes. The backer behind the great Ning royal family. Among all the cultivation sects in the entire eastern wilderness, the Qingyang sect ranks in the top 3. Zhao entering the inner sect of the Qingyang sect. His future will be limitless. By that time, let alone a mere Qingzhou city. Even those big shots in the imperial city would have to be polite when they see our Lu family. Zhao Quan hurriedly agreed. Madam is right. The second young master is extraordinarily gifted, and will surely soar to the sky after entering the sect. Lu's smile suddenly converged, a layer of gloom rising between her brows. Zhao's success is a certainty, but before he soars, there is still a thorn that needs to be pulled out. Zhao Quan naturally knew who she was talking about. That eldest son of the direct lineage who had been driven to the foot of Kangwu mountain to survive on his own. Lu Yun. Madam, rest assured, that kid Lu Yun is living like a wild dog in Lu family village. He can't make any waves. Can't make any waves. Lu's gaze cut over like a knife. A living eldest son of the direct lineage is a wave in itself. As long as he has one breath left, those short-sighted old things in the clan will talk about the rules of direct lineage and birth order. In the past, that old thing Lu Qingshan protected him, and I couldn't move against him openly. But now it's different. She stood up, walked to the window, pushed it open a crack to look at the snowy scenery in the courtyard, her voice appearing exceptionally cold in the freezing wind. Zhao is about to enter the Qingyang sect. After this news reaches Lu Qingshan's ears, whether he will still protect the trash Lu Yun is hard to to say. Lu turned around, staring at Zhao Quan, explaining word by word. You go and send people to Lu family village now, find Lu Yukai, and tell him, after the matter is accomplished, I will arrange for his useless son to enter the Lu family's martial arts hall, and gaining an official position in the future won't be difficult. Madam's meaning is, do it cleanly, don't leave any evidence. Lu picked up the ginseng tea again, and took a light sip, her tone casual, as if she were discussing what to have for dinner. Isn't he at the foot of Kangwu Mountain? The mountains are high and the roads are far, and the wind and snow are heavy. Anything happening to him would be normal. Falling to his death, freezing to death, being carried away by wild beasts. Anyway is fine, as long as you don't let people link it to us. Zhao Quan nodded and bowed. This lowly one understands. I will send people out of the city before dawn. Lu waved her hand, and Zhao Quan retreated out of the flower hall, closing the door lightly. The flower hall returned to quiet, the charcoal fire making faint popping sounds. Lu leaned against the soft couch, watching the snow getting heavier outside the window, that smile appearing again. From now on, no one would ever be able to threaten her son's position again. And 30 li away from Qingzhou City, in Lu family village, inside Lu Yotsai's courtyard, a strong man with a full, fleshy face was roasting his hands by the fire basin. He wore an old robe washed until it turned white, a wide-backed short blade tucked in his waist, a terrifying scar running obliquely from the corner of his eye to his chin, looking indescribably ferocious. This person was called Xiongqua, the leader of the Black Wind stronghold on Kangwu Mountain, raising 7 or 8 tenths of desperate bandits under his command, specializing in plundering passing merchant caravans in the Kangwu Mountain area. The relationship between him and Lu Yukai went back 10 years. At that time, Xiongqua was being hunted by enemies, and fled near Lu family village with severe injuries. It was Lu Yukai who hid him in his own cellar for 3 days, and secretly sent him food and drink, saving his life. Ever since then, Xiongqua remembered this favor. All these years, whenever Lu Yukai had anything in the village he couldn't settle, as long as he sent someone to drop a message up the mountain, Xiongqua would send people down to clean it up without a second word. A few years ago, someone in the village didn't agree with Lu Yotsai's method of farmland division, and went together to Qingzhou City to file a lawsuit. As a result, the leading family died overnight, their bodies thrown into the gully behind the mountain. The government came to investigate several times without finding any results, and in the end, it just faded away. Over time, no one in Lu family village dared to oppose Lu Yukai again. Old brother Lu, Xiongqua roasted his fire, speaking in a coarse voice, calling me down from the mountain in the middle of the night. What exactly is the urgent matter? Lu Yukai sat opposite him, a smile piled on his thin, long face, but that smile didn't reach his eyes. He lifted the rough pottery teapot on the table to pour Xiongqua a bowl of hot tea, saying unhurriedly, I have a small job, and would like to ask brother Xiong for help. What job? Kill someone. Xiongqua took the teacup and drank it in one go, wiping his mouth with his sleeve, and laughed unconcernedly. Kill who? And which blind fool is it? This person is not a villager. He's from Qingzhou City. Lu Yukai put down the teapot, lowering his voice. The eldest son of the direct lineage of the Lu family, Lu Yun. Xiongqua's smile paused for a moment. Although he was a king of the mountain, he knew something about the power structure in Qingzhou City. The Lu family is a family of cultivators. Even if it's the eldest son of the direct lineage who was driven out, he isn't someone an ordinary mountain bandit can touch at will. Old brother Lu, although this person was driven out, he is, after all, a member of the Lu family, flowing with the blood of the Lu family. Kill him, and what if it startles the Qingzhou side? It won't startle them. Lu Yukai interrupted him, fishing a heavy money bag from his bosom and placing it on the table. The sound of the bag falling on the table was dull. It was packed with at least 20 taels of silver ingots. Someone above wants his life. I am just acting under orders. After the matter is accomplished, there will be another equal payment. Xiongqua stared at the money bag for a few moments, reached out to weigh the bag's heft, and revealed a ferocious smile on his face. Done. Just a piece of trash, young master. I can send a few brothers under me to chop him up. Before tomorrow night, I will bring you his head. Be clean when you do it. Don't do it at his home. There are 3 cubs in his home. Get him to the mountain before killing him. When the time comes, just throw him into the mountain gully. Wild wolves will naturally dispose of him for us. Xiongqua stood up, stuffed the money bag into his bosom, and waved his hand. Rest assured, this kind of thing isn't the first time I've done it. Leave it to me. He pushed open the door, and strode into the filling wind and snow. Lu Yukai sat by the fire basin without moving, watching Xiongqua's back disappear outside the courtyard gate, the smile on his face gradually cooling. He picked up the bowl of tea in front of him that had already gone cold, slowly drank it up, and looked gloomily toward the north of the village. There sat a dilapidated mud-walled house, home to a piece of trash young master who should have died in Qingzhou City. He picked up a wine jug on the table, gulping down a large mouthful of wine, wiped his mouth, and muttered to himself in a low voice, Lu Yun, oh Lu Yun, don't blame me for being ruthless. You are a nail in the eyes of the nobles. They can't tolerate you, and I am merely pulling out a nail for someone else. The firewood in the fire basin burned through, collapsing and splashing a burst of sparks, soon extinguished in the chill of the winter night, and Lu Yun at this moment was carrying the winter honey jar and iron pot, treading on snow covering his calves, walking step by step on the way home. In his bosom was 120 taels of silver, an account book sufficient to claim Liu Yotsai's life, a scroll of techniques leading to the iron bone realm of body refining, and a priceless 100-year-old cold pool grass. He had no idea that a murder plot had already quietly arrived. When Liu Yun pushed open his own courtyard door, it was already the latter half of the night. The snow had stopped, the moon leaking a few strands of cold light through the cracks in the clouds, illuminating the courtyard in a vast expanse of white. He moved the winter honey jar, the iron pot, and the stove into the kitchen first, and quietly bolted the courtyard door, only then walking into the main room, and taking things out one by one from his bosom. First, the 6 ingots of snowflake silver, arranged neatly on the table, each ingot a 20-tael large gold/silver ingot, the silver surface bright as a mirror, emitting a soft luster under the oil lamp. Following was the tax record of Liu family village, the cover yellowed, the pages brittle and hard, opening to reveal densely packed, handwritten records by the former village chief, Liu Guangchuan. On such and such a day of such and such a month, Liu Yukai falsely reported farmland by such and such amount, embezzled tax money by such and such amount. It was recorded clearly, item by item. Liu Yun flipped through a few pages before closing it. He knew the weight of this item better than anyone. Then came the tiger roaring golden bell shield technique scroll, the dark yellow paper slowly unfolding on the table. Lei Jiuxiao's signature written in iron drawing, silver hook style. The cyan porcelain bottle was empty, but the glaze on the bottle was warm, and it could be worth a dozen or so copper coins if turned around in town. The 100-year-old cold pool grass was wrapped in damp moss, the roots translucent, vaguely emitting a silver-white fluorescence in the dark. Clearly not an ordinary item. Finally, the scattered copper coins and broken silver. 2 taels of broken silver searched from Lu Dainyu, 20-some copper coins from Makazi, 3 copper coins from Erlizi, and the 320 copper coins from the pottery jar at the threshing ground, plus the scattered copper coins Liu Yun had left, gathered them into a pile and counted them. It added up to a little over 3 taels of silver. He sorted the silver and copper coins by category, and quickly calculated a budget in his mind. 100 taels of silver were for the bottom of the chest, not to be touched unless absolutely necessary. 20 taels of silver, 3 taels of scattered silver, plus those few hundred copper coins, were enough to go to town tomorrow to purchase all the necessary supplies, grain, winter clothes, pots, bowls, basins, and ladles, and add a few sets of thick clothes for the 3 children. As for that jar of winter honey, the system said it could accelerate the absorption of body-tempering medicinal power, which would be of great use for future cultivation. After finishing the count, he put the items away again. Having done all this, he lay down on the hard bed, closed his eyes. The qi and blood of the 6th stage of the tiger roaring golden bell shield in his body were still circulating slowly in his meridians, as if a stream of warm water were cycling back and forth through his limbs and bones. His whole body's muscles were relaxed yet full, his breathing long and deep. In less than 3 breaths, he fell into a deep sleep. The night passed without dreams. At the first light of dawn the next day, Liu Yun opened his eyes. He flipped over and sat up, moved his neck, his joints making fine popping sounds. He was full of energy, without the slightest fatigue from the rushing and fighting of last night. The recovery ability of the 6th stage bronze skin realm body was far beyond that of ordinary people, and 3 or 4 hours of deep sleep were enough to fully restore his stamina. The 3 children were still sleeping in the inner room. Liu Yun didn't rush to wake them, instead lighting a fire in the kitchen, heating up the leftover cured meat porridge from last night, and breaking 2 eggs he had exchanged from old man Lu's house into the porridge. The egg strands rolled into golden filaments in the boiling porridge, mixing with the fat of the cured meat, the fragrance drifting far out through the door crack. Then he silently recited in his mind, "System, start today's opportunity search." That mechanical voice responded almost instantly. Host, Liu Yun. Search range, 10 li from the host's location. Today's opportunity search is complete. 3 opportunities have been marked. Opportunity 1, white. Inside the tree hole of the old locust tree at the entrance of Liu family village, hidden is a bag of discarded dry medicinal herbs, including 3 liang each of angelica, astragalus, and cotinopsis, of medium quality. Although the herbs are not spiritual herbs, the medicinal properties are mild, and they can be used with daily diet to regulate qi and blood, suitable for strengthening the foundation and cultivating vitality during the low stages of body refining. It just so happens that the 3 children are all physically weak. Taking them back to stew soup will help them nourish themselves. Opportunity 2, green. Embedded on the left wall of the 3rd-level branch tunnel of the abandoned mine 8 li southeast of Liu family village, is a piece of black iron raw or the size of a fist. Black iron is the main material for refining low-level body refiner gloves, possessing extremely high hardness, and with proper forging, it can produce a pair of mortal-grade high-tier gloves, attached with a weak armor-piercing effect. Black iron raw ore. Liu Yun's heart stirred. His bare-handed combat was already no problem, but if he had a pair of handy gloves, his combat strength could reach another level. If he had received a green opportunity in the past, he could have been happy for half a day, but now that his horizons had broadened, he wasn't too excited, just silently noting the location. Opportunity 3. Blue. Hidden in a secret compartment under the bed in Lu Yotsai's master bedroom, is a 50-year-old golden thread lingji. The lingji is deep red all over, with golden thread patterns on the edges. Its nature extremely young, and it can be used to refine second-grade body-quenching pills, or swallowed directly to assist in breaking through the bottleneck of the Iron Bone realm. Also attached are 3 secret letters of correspondence between Lu Yukai and the Black Wind stronghold leader Xiongqua, detailing over a dozen of their collusions in plundering, sharing spoils, and exterminating families for murder. Lu Yun stood up straight abruptly. Blue opportunity. A 50-year-old golden thread lingji. With this lingji plus the 100-year-old cold pool grass in his hand, if he could find an alchemist, he could completely gather the main and auxiliary materials for a batch of second-grade body-quenching pills, directly helping him charge toward the Iron Bone realm in the future. And the secret letters between Lu Yukai and Xiongqua were a blade sharper than the tax account book. Murder, robbery, collusion with mountain bandits. Once these matters were poked to the government, let alone Lu Yukai being a mere village chief, even the people behind him would have to weigh whether they could handle it. But the hint of the blue opportunity also made him alert. The location of the opportunity marked by the system showed that Lu Yukai had already made contact with the people from Black Wind stronghold. What did this mean? It meant that the people of Lu Zhao's branch might have already started taking action, or rather, they couldn't wait any longer. Interesting. A cold sneer surfaced at the corners of Lu Yun's mouth. He paced back and forth by the stove, his brain turning rapidly. Lu Yotsai's account book and secret letters, gathering these two things together, were enough to send this village chief to the guillotine. But that golden thread lingji was under Lu Yotsai's bed. To get it, he had to enter his courtyard. This matter needed careful consideration. The most important thing right now was to first take the children to town to get all the winter supplies ready. He put the porridge from the stove onto the table, walked into the inner room with long strides, and clapped his hands. Ninger, Linger, get up. After eating, Dad will take you to town. Lu Ning poked a fuzzy little head out of the quilt, dazed, her eyes not yet open, already muttering, "Town, are there candied haws?" Luan scrambled up, almost hitting his head on the dried vegetable basket hanging from the rafter again, his eyes wide. "Dad, are we really going to town?" Lu Linger was the quietest, silently sitting up to put on her clothes, but her eyes lit up as well. She had lived to be 9 years old, and the number of times she had been to town could be counted on one hand. Every time she went, she walked for an hour to the entrance of the town, took a look and came back, never having actually entered. "Really, everyone is going. Hurry up and eat. We'll set off once we're done." The 2 younger ones cheered, scrambling off the bed. Lu Linger put on her clothes, walked to the kitchen, and saw 4 bowls of steaming egg and cured meat porridge on the table, her nose aching again. The first thing she did every morning now was to confirm if the stove had been lit, if there was hot porridge in the pot, and if there were 4 sets of bowls and chopsticks on the table. If all were there, she would silently let out a sigh of relief. Dad was still that new dad. If one day she woke up and the stove was cold, she felt she would collapse. Fortunately, the stove was burning brightly every day. After eating, Lu Yun carried an empty bamboo basket on his back, and led the 3 children out of the door. The weather had cleared, and the sun after the snow shone brightly on the snow, dazzling enough to make it hard to open one's eyes. Luan and Lu Ning were frolicking in the snow like 2 rabbits let out of a cage, one running in front, the other chasing behind, their laughter as crisp as wind chimes. Lu Linger followed behind Lu Yun, clutching that peachwood hairpin in her hand, stealing a glance at her father's back from time to time. It was 12 li from Lu family village to the nearest Qingshi town, which usually took over an hour of walking, but Lu Yun was taking the children today, so he walked slowly, and it was almost the sea hour 9 to 11 a.m. when they arrived in town. Qingshi town was not big, consisting of only one main street from beginning to end, taking less than the time of a stick of incense to walk through, but it had everything it needed: grain shops, meat shops, cloth shops, pharmacies, general stores, and a blacksmith shop specifically for making farm tools. A few snack stalls were set up at the street entrance, 4 or 5 children surrounding the candied haw stall. The aroma of roasted chestnuts mixed with the sweetness of roasted sweet potatoes, churning into a mass in the cold air. Lu Ning's small steps couldn't move immediately. Her eyes were glued to the bunch of candied haws stuck on the straw bundle, red hawthorns wrapped in shiny sugar coating, flashing enticingly in the sunlight. The little girl's throat moved, her saliva almost drooling down the corners of her mouth. Luan tried his best to keep a straight face, pretending he wasn't hungry, but the finger joints of his small hand gripping Lu Yun's sleeve turned white, his eyes drifting toward the candied haws incessantly. Lu Linger held her sister's hand, pursing her lips and not speaking. She knew Dad didn't have much money on him, with the 30 copper coins still tucked in her pocket. Buying candied haws was too wasteful. Lu Yun looked down at the reactions of the 3 children, unable to help but smile. He walked over, pulled 3 skewers from the straw bundle, and shoved one into each of their hands. "Here, take them." When Lu Ning received the candied haw, her small fingers were trembling, bringing it to her lips and licking the sugar coating carefully, before her eyes widened abruptly, as if something had struck her soul. The sweet and sour taste exploded on the tip of her tongue. The little girl stunned, then then breaking into a grin, a smile stupid yet extremely happy, her mouth covered in sticky syrup, shouting vaguely at Lu Yun, "Daddy, sweet, it's sweet." Lu Yun also took a bite, just wanting to say it was delicious, but the hawthorn was so sour his whole face wrinkled into a ball, tears almost coming out, yet he couldn't bear to spit it out, grimacing while swallowing, making the old man selling candied haws nearby laugh. Lu Linga held the candied haw, looking at it for a long while before taking a small bite. She didn't shout like her brother and sister, but her eye sockets turned red again. This was the first candied haw she had eaten in her life, and the first candied haw her father had bought for her. Lu Yun rubbed Lu An's head, and patted Lu Linger's shoulder lightly. "Come on, let's go buy a donkey cart first." The three children were all stunned, Lu An tilting his face, the candied haw almost poking his nose. "Dad, what are we buying a donkey cart for?" "You'll know once we buy it." Lu Yun led the three children across the main street, and went straight to the livestock market at the entrance of the town. Called a livestock market, it was actually just an open space enclosed by wooden fences. Mules, horses, donkeys, and oxen were tied to hitching posts. The smell of dried grass mixed with animal feces on the ground, when baked by the sun, made people frown, but Lu Yun didn't care at all. He had smelled more complex odors in the urban villages of his past life. An old farmer wearing a sheepskin vest was squatting on a stone pier, smoking dry tobacco. Seeing someone come, he knocked out the ash and stood up. "Guest, looking for livestock?" Lu Yun glanced at the tied donkeys, and immediately took a liking to a gray-haired donkey. The donkey's frame wasn't big but its four limbs were sturdy, its coat shiny, its big ears standing up, not hiding when it saw people, its eyes looking quite docile. Beside it were parked a few semi-new wooden carts, the frames built from hardwood, not high-quality material, but sturdy. "How much for this donkey?" "Guest has a good eye. This donkey is just 3 years old, in its prime years, good for pulling carts and carrying loads." The old farmer patted the donkey's back. "Donkey and cart together, 5 taels and 500 copper coins." 5 taels. Lu Yun held up 5 fingers. The old farmer looked troubled, just about to speak, when Lu Yun added, "And include the bag of forage on the cart." The old farmer looked at Lu Yun's expression, then at the three children behind him eating candied haws, and grinned. "Deal. 5 taels it is. Consider the forage bag a gift from this old man." Guest is a straightforward person. Lu Yun fished an ingot of silver from his bosom, exactly one of the 6. The old farmer received the silver, weighed it in his palm, blowing on it and listening to it by his ear. After confirming it was real, the wrinkles on his face bloomed into a smile. He untied the reins and handed them to Lu Yun, fished out the change from his bosom, and piled it onto the cart bed along with the forage bag. Lu An's eyes opened wider than copper bells, not even bothering to lick his candied haw, running to the donkey and standing on tiptoe to touch its ears. "Dad, is this donkey ours from now on?" "It's ours." Lu Yun wrapped the reins around his wrist, bent down and lifted Lu An onto the cart. "Go up and sit." Lu An plopped down on the empty cart bed, his 2 small short legs dangling, his mouth grinning from ear to ear. Lu Ning scrambled up after him, her short legs unable to reach the cart bed, whimpering in anxiety. Lu Yun scooped her up, and the little girl rolled directly on the cart bed, laughing gigglingly. Sister, our house has a donkey. We have a donkey." Lu Linger was the last to get on, sitting cautiously on the edge of the cart bed, her hand resting on the cart shaft, her fingertips touching the rough wood grain, the corners of her mouth unable to stop rising. The candied haw in her bosom wasn't finished yet, the sugar coating already half melted, sticking stickily to the oil paper. Lu Yun led the donkey cart, driving grandly onto the main street of the town. Donkey hooves clattered on the bluestone pavement, drawing the shop clerks on both sides to poke their heads out and look. Although the donkey cart was neither old nor new, to the people in town, having a cart and livestock was already a symbol of a prosperous household. Lu Yun led the three children dressed in rags, turning from poor wretches into owners of a cart in the blink of an eye. This contrast made quite a few people's jaws drop. First stop, cloth shop. The cloth shop landlady was a fat woman, her attitude extremely enthusiastic. Just by looking at that gray donkey at the door, she knew this person wasn't here to beg for food. Pick 2 sets of ready-made clothes for each child, thick cotton-padded jackets and trousers, and another sheepskin jacket for each, plus a pair of cotton boots. Lu Yun pushed Lu Ning and Luan forward. Measure them. Luan stiffened all over when he was pulled to the side by the landlady to be measured. He had never worn new clothes in his life. Looking down at the thick cotton-padded shirt with fine stitches in the landlady's hand, his eyes wide. Lu Ning was even more exaggerated, the little girl touching the soft fur of the sheepskin jacket, rubbing her face against it, laughing gigglingly. Daddy, this is like a big doggy's fur. So soft. Lu Linger was the last to be measured, the landlady picking out a dark red cotton-padded jacket with small flower patterns for her. The material wasn't too precious, but the stitches were dense, the collar even embroidered with a small flower border. Lu Linger put on the jacket, looking down at the flower border on the cuffs, her fingers stroking it repeatedly, and tears came down again. She used her sleeves to wipe her face hard, but the more she wiped, the more tears flowed, finally stopping entirely, standing in the corner of the cloth shop and crying silently for half a cup of tea. Shopkeeper, take out 3 more thick cotton quilts. 10 jean thick cotton batting. Lu Yun pointed to the thick cotton quilts stacked on top of the shelf, paused, and added another one. No, 4 quilts, and another mattress. mattress, for spreading on the bed. The landlady's mouth was almost reaching her ears, personally stepping on a stool to move the cotton quilts from the shelf, stacking them one by one on the counter. 4 10 thick cotton quilts piled together, like a small, soft hill. Lu Yun carried the quilts and mattress to the door, placing them on the donkey cart one by one. The bedding was all new cotton wadding, plump and full, the white quilt linings shining brightly in the sunlight. When Lu Linger saw the pile of quilts, she cried even harder. She remembered the rotten quilt she and her younger siblings squeezed under last night. The cotton wadding knotted into hard lumps, covering her body like a cooling mat. Lu Ning stood on tiptoe to touch the quilt, pressing her small face against it, muttering to herself, "So soft, softer than our bed at home." The bill at the cloth shop was 4 taels and 200 copper coins. Lu Yun paid, folded the new clothes one by one and put them into the quilt pile, and the donkey cart was immediately piled into a small hill of cloth. Next stop, grain shop. Lu Yun stopped the donkey cart at the grain shop door, entering and reporting the weight directly. 100 jin of polished rice, 50 jin of millet, 30 jin of white flour. The abacus beads in the shopkeeper's hand went wrong again. He had seen this person when he parked the donkey cart at the door of the cloth shop, originally thinking he was some rich newcomer, but as soon as he entered, he asked for over 100 jin of grain. The shopkeeper smiled from ear to ear, personally bagging and weighing it. Lu Yun pointed again to the dried mushrooms, dried black fungus, and dried daylilies piled in the corner, taking 2 jin of each. Polished rice, millet, white flour total 1 tael and 200 copper coins plus 320 copper coins. Dried goods separately calculate 80 copper coins. Several clerks helped carry the grain bags onto the donkey cart one by one. Lu Yun hopped around excitedly on the cart bed. Lu Linger, afraid he would fall, grabbed him by the back collar. "Behave, don't break the grain bags." Then, the meat shop. Lu Yun stopped the donkey cart at the meat shop door. When he went in, the butcher was chopping pork ribs, bare-shouldered, half a pig piled on the chopping board. Lu Yun asked for 20 jin of cured meat, 15 salted fish, 4 air-dried sheep legs, 10 jin of pork ribs, a basket of eggs, and 3 laying hens. The butcher's knife nailed into the chopping board, staring at him for 3 seconds, before shouting at the top of his lungs, "Alrighty, 2 taels and 170 copper coins." The butcher helped move the things onto the donkey cart one by one, finally stuffing in 2 extra pork bones, and filling a pottery jar of fresh lard, for mixing with the children's rice, smelling very fragrant. Then, the general store, salt, vinegar, soy sauce, Sichuan peppercorns, star anise, 1 of each, a new kitchen knife, an iron pot, 10 coarse pottery bowls, a handful of chopsticks, 5 fire starters, 2 oil lamps, 5 jin of lamp oil. Lu Yun saw a row of pottery jars on the shelf, and had the clerk get a jar of brown sugar, planning to dissolve it in water for the children to drink when he got back. Spending 1 tael and 200 copper coins for all sorts of things. Passing by the bookstore, Lu Yun hesitated for a moment. The bookstore wasn't large. A shopkeeper who looked like an old scholar sitting behind the counter, wearing reading glasses and copying books. Lu Yun went in, scanned it, and bought the most basic, 1000-character classic, 100 family surnames, and the 4 treasures of the study, a sheet of Xian paper, 2 brushes, 1 ink stick, and 1 ink stone. When the shopkeeper wrapped it up and handed it over, Lu Yun calculated in his heart, these things cost nearly half a tael of silver, but it was worth it. Lu Linger was 9 years old, time to learn to read. When he walked out of the bookstore holding the 4 treasures of the study, Lu Linger was sitting on the donkey cart organizing the pile of quilts. Seeing the things held in her father's arms, she was stunned as if under a freezing spell. "Dad, this is for you. When we get back, Dad will teach you to read." Lu Yun shoved the 4 treasures of the study into her arms. "Remember, in this world, you can't let a girl child remain illiterate." Lu Linger held the paper and brushes, head down, lips pressed into a line, not letting a sound escape, but her shoulders shaking violently. Lu Yun went to the pharmacy again, getting 3 doses of cold-dispelling and chi-tonifying medicine for the 3 children, and incidentally asking if the shopkeeper had Angelica, Astragalus, and Codenopsis. The shopkeeper said yes, sold by the gene. Lu Yun thought that while the white opportunity at the old locust tree at the entrance of the village could be picked for free, free stuff was ultimately discarded by others, and the quality might not be good. Better to buy a set back to compare. So he asked for half a jin of each, costing 80 copper coins. The bamboo basket was completely full. Grain bags piled up to half a cart. Meat and eggs stacked on top of the grain bags. Quilts and clothes piled in the middle. The 3 children sat on the pile of quilts, wrapped softly in new clothes and new quilts, feeling warm all over. Lu Ning held a hen with its feet tied in her arms. Lu Yun holding one, and another hen and a basket of eggs were fixed to the corner of the cart by Lu Yun with a rope. Lu Yun poked his head out from the pile of quilts, looking at the mountain-like New Year's goods on the donkey cart, counting them one by one on his fingers. Polished rice, millet, white flour, dried mushrooms, cured meat, salted fish, sheep legs, pork ribs, eggs, hens, salt, vinegar, soy sauce, new kitchen knife, oil lamp, lamp oil, quilts, cotton clothes, cotton trousers, sheepskin jacket, cotton boots, books, writing brushes, ink, paper, and ink stones, medicinal herbs, brown sugar. He got confused counting halfway, looking up and shouting shouting at Lu Yun. Dad, are we no longer living? Why buy so many things? What if the money runs out? Lu Yun patted the large ingot of silver and the loose silver and copper coins left in his bosom, laughing. Don't worry, it won't run out. That wasn't bragging. He brought an ingot of 20 taels of whole silver, plus about 3 taels of scattered silver and a few hundred copper coins, totaling a little over 23 taels. Donkey cart 5 taels. Cloth shop 4 taels and 200 coins. Grain shop 1 tael and 500 coins. Meat shop 2 taels and 170 coins. General store 1 tael and 200 coins. Bookstore and pharmacy combined about 1 tael, totaling a little over 15 taels. He still had nearly 8 taels of silver in his bosom, 5 whole ingots of silver at the bottom of the chest, and the 100 taels hadn't been touched at all. The things bought on this trip looked like a mountain, but actually, it was less than 1/6 of his wealth. The donkey cart circled around the town, Lu Yun slapping his silver out piece by piece, without blinking his eyes from beginning to end. People in town looked sideways, busybody wives and matrons whispering to each other, guessing which farmer from which village had suddenly struck it rich. Lu Yun couldn't be bothered to deal with these gazes, driving the donkey cart, loaded with a full cart of New Year's goods, swaying toward the entrance of the town. Qingshi town wasn't big, and people in town saw each other every day. Who bought what and how much they spent could spread across half the street in half a day. Lu Yun's purchase today: donkey cart, grain, meat, cloth, paper, in the eyes of the idlers and rascals in town, was simply a walking fat sheep. In a tea shed diagonally opposite the general store, several hooligans were squatting on a long bench eating melon seeds. The leader was a man named Zhang Bao, 26 or 27, tiger-backed and bare-waisted, a horizontal scar on his forehead, corners of his mouth habitually crooked, an expression of looking down on everyone. He was a notoriously bad character in Qingshi town. As for talent, he had no talent, his fisticuffs mediocre, but he relied on his brother Zhang, who being a small leader in the Golden Knife Gang in Qingzhou City, bullying, eating, and drinking for free, people in town skirting him whenever they saw him. Brother Bao, a thin, sneaky-eyed man named Li San next to him, nodded his chin toward the street. Look at that brat, bringing 3 little brats, dressed like beggars, yet spending money without blinking. I saw with my own eyes at the grain shop door. This guy bought over 100 jin of grain just like that, without blinking his eyes. Zhang Bao squinted and sized up Lu Yun for a long while, grinning and revealing yellow teeth. Unfamiliar, never seen him. Where is he from? The accent doesn't sound like it's from our town. Seems like he came out of some village to the north. Village to the north? Zhang Bao spat a melon seed shell to the ground, clapped the debris from his hands, stood up. Lu family village. Anyway, not from the town. A mud-legged guy carrying so much silver in his pocket, and daring to swagger into town like this. Isn't this throwing meat into my bowl? He signaled, and 4 or 5 men in the tea shed stood up in unison, carrying sticks and short blades, following him saunteringly toward the town entrance. Lu Yun had just driven the donkey cart to the town entrance, preparing to turn onto the dirt road to Lu family village. The grain bags and meat on the cart were piled high. The 3 children squeezed into the pile of quilts, Lu Ning clutching a hen and giggling, Luan lying on the edge of the cart counting sheep legs, Lu Ling her head down, fingers repeatedly touching the oil paper package of the 4 treasures of the study in her arms. Stop! Zhang Bao led the men to block the donkey cart. 5 men lined up, blocking the road at the town entrance tightly. Zhang Bao stood in the middle with his arms crossed, tilting his head and sizing Lu Yun up from head to toe, feeling more and more that this fellow was easy to bully. Although he was taller than he imagined, he was skinny, his tattered cotton jacket short, clearly a poor farmer. Kid, where from? Zhang Bao smiled maliciously. Lu Yun's hands holding the donkey reins didn't move, his face expressionless. Lu family village. Something up? Something up? Of course there's something up. Zhang Bao took a step forward, pointing to the grain and meat piled high on the donkey cart. You bought so much stuff. You have to pay commercial tax. Lu Yun raised an eyebrow. Commercial tax? Right, commercial tax. Li San flashed from behind Zhang Bao, helping out in a shrill voice. Our brother Bao is the own younger brother of big brother Zhang Hu of the Golden Knife Gang in Qingzhou City. The commercial tax for this area of Qingshi town is all collected on behalf of the Golden Knife Gang. You bought at least several hundred jin of goods. You have to pay half in commercial tax. Luan and Lu Ning stopped laughing. 2 children shrinking behind the quilts. 2 pairs of eyes peering timidly at the horizontal scar on Zhang Bao's face. Not daring to even breathe hard, Lu Ning subconsciously clutched her sister's sleeve, her small fingers tightly gripping. Lu Linger's face turned pale, pulling her younger siblings behind her again. But she herself was trembling too. Half. Lu Yun's voice was very calm, so calm that it surprised Zhang Bao. Brother, to tell you the truth, half in commercial tax is already the light version. If you are sensible, just leave the stuff on the cart and the donkey cart behind, and roll back to Lu family village with these 3 little brats. I, brother Bao, am broad-minded, and won't argue with you, if you aren't sensible. I bought these things with money, and I've never heard of any law about paying half in commercial tax. As for the Golden Knife Gang, I have heard of it in Qingzhou City. But you, a dogleg who came from elsewhere to beg for favors, I don't think you have anything to do with it, right? When he said this halfway, Zhang Bao's smile froze on his face. Li San, who was just about to step forward, was blocked by him with a wave of his hand. Zhang Bao didn't say why, but he stopped kept Li San from being long-winded. This itself was a signal. This guy opposite is not right. My brother is Zhang Hu, Deputy Hall Master of the Xuanwu Hall of the Golden Knife Gang. He bit the last 3 words heavily, and then tilted his head, staring at Lu Yun, waiting for him to be afraid. However, Lu Yun had no reaction at all. Zhang Bao coughed, his voice half thickened. How about this, brother? Just pay 40 taels, and consider it making a friend with me. Zhang Bao, not a single tael. The smile on Zhang Bao's face disappeared completely. He stared at Lu Yun for a few moments, then slowly waved his hand behind him. A younger brother behind him pulled a hammer from somewhere. The hammer had larger than a fist, rusty but quite heavy, glittering coldly in the sunlight. Look at this. Zhang Bao patted the hammer head, making a dull metallic sound. One blow of this, and it can smash a millstone in 2. I'll ask you one more time. 40 taels. Do you pay or not? Lu Yun took a look at the hammer, then looked at Zhang Bao, suddenly laughing. I really appreciate this attitude of yours. He slowly let go of the donkey reins, leisurely moving his wrists, his knuckles popping a series of sounds. Really appreciate it. I have always talked logic before doing things. You showing the hammer first actually saved me quite a bit of talk. Zhang Bao's eyes turned cold. Do it. The younger brother with the hammer charged up first, swinging the hammer around and smashing it toward Lu Yun's chest. If this hammer hit home, an ordinary person would break a row of ribs, if not die. Lu Ning on the cart screamed. Lu Yun was so scared he buried his face in his sister's sleeve. Lu Ling shivering all over, subconsciously wanting to pounce and block, but her legs were too soft to stand up. Lu Yun stood in place without moving. When the hammer was less than 3 inches from his chest, he suddenly raised his hand, 5 fingers spread, facing the hammer head-on. Bang! A dull sound, as if someone were hitting a stone wall with a fist. The younger brother's eyeballs almost popped out of their sockets. The hammer head was held firmly by Lu Yun's one hand, not blocking, not deflecting, but holding it head-on. That hand didn't even retreat by half an inch. The hammer felt like it had been smashed into an anvil, motionless. Rust on the hammer head fell off in flurries, crushed into powder between Lu Yun's fingers. The next moment, Lu Yun exerted force with his 5 fingers. The hammer head in his hand deformed like a piece of tofu. The squeaking sound of metal twisting made people's teeth ache. Then he casually flung it, the hammer and the handle slipping from the younger brother's hand, rotating and smashing into the tea-shed pillar across the street. The pillar snapped, half the shed roof collapsing, tiles clattering all over the ground. The tea-shed owner climbed out of the ruins, opening his mouth wanting to curse, but seeing it was Zhang Bao's men, he swallowed the curses back. All 5 hooligans were stunned. The younger brother with the hammer looked down at his empty hands, then looked up at Lu Yun, his 2 legs trembling like a sieve. In his life, the most ruthless person he had ever seen was Zhang Bao's brother, Zhang Hu, but even Zhang Hu couldn't deform a hammer with one hand. Is this even human? Zhang Bao was the quickest to react. His face changed, but he wasn't cowardly, the flesh on his face trembling. Master, didn't think I'd run into one today. That's fine. Killing a master is more satisfying than beating a piece of trash. He was quite capable, pulling a short blade from his back waist, the blade flashing fiercely, stabbing straight toward Lu Yun's abdomen. Unfortunately, such speed in Lu Yun's eyes was half a beat slower than Li San's. Also slow, Lu Yun dodged the blade sideways, right hand reaching out, locking onto Zhang Bao's wrist holding the blade, 5 fingers tightening. The bone-cracking sound was crisp and piercing. Zhang Bao's face turned liver-colored instantly, the short blade slipping from his hand, falling to the ground with a clang. Lu Yun's left hand grabbed Zhang Bao's collar, lifting him up in one go. Zhang Bao weighed at least 150 or 60 jin, but Lu Yun lifted him with one hand, just like lifting a bag of cotton. 40 taels. Lu Yun looked at Zhang Bao's face, twisted by pain and fear, his tone as plain as discussing the weather. Are you worth 40 taels? His other hand reached in front of Zhang Bao, 5 fingers slowly clenching, his knuckles popping a series of crisp sounds. The sound wasn't loud, but it made everyone present shudder. Just a moment ago, this hand turned a hammer into slag. The rust was still falling from between his fingers. You, what do you want to do? Zhang Bao's voice was out of tune, suspended in midair, kicking his legs desperately, like a wild dog held by the back of its neck. Nothing much. Just want to tell you that your brother in the Golden Knife Gang is just like paper in my eyes. Lu Yun shook him a few times, as if weighing a cargo. Remember, my name is Lu Yun. If you want revenge, come to Lu Family Village. But the ugly words first. He pulled Zhang Bao toward him, lowering his voice, speaking word by word. Next time you come, I won't just crush one of your hands. Get lost. As the word lost came out, Lu Yun flung him casually, Zhang Bao flying sideways for over a zhang, plunging headfirst into the snow pile by the road. Snow splashed 3 feet high, his 2 legs kicking outside for a few moments before freeing himself from the snow. Face full of snow, ice shards poured into his nose and mouth, coughing and gasping, just like a stray dog fished out of a puddle. The hooligans he brought scrambled to pull him out of the snow, Zhang Bao holding snow foam in his mouth, howling vaguely, "Go! Hurry go!" Several men scrambled to retreat toward the town, no one daring to look back, even for the shoe that had fallen off on the ground. There was a moment of silence on the donkey cart. Then Lu Ning was the first to react. She let go of her sister's sleeve, her little mouth wide open, the fear in her eyes not yet faded, but the light of worship soup already bubbling up like a spring. She scrambled over from the pile of quilts, lying on the edge of the cart, looking up at Lu Yun and shouting, "Daddy, you're so amazing. You threw that bad guy out." The little girl waved her arms while shouting, her small face excited and red. Lu Yun drilled out from his sister's sleeve, the terror on his face already replaced by excitement, scrambling up and standing on the grain bag, clenching his small fists, looking eager. "Dad, I want to learn. I want to be that amazing too. Next time someone bullies sister or little sister, I'll throw them out too." Lu Linger didn't speak. She sat deep in the cart, holding the 4 treasures of the study tightly in her arms, her lips still trembling slightly. But the way she looked at Lu Yun was different. Before, it was doubt, fear, cautious probing. But now, there was something in those eyes that she had never had before, called sense of security. She bowed her head, buried her face in the stack of Xian paper in her arms, her shoulders heaving twice. Then she looked up, and revealed a very small smile at Lu Yun. That smile was very light as the footprint of a sparrow on the snow. But Lu Yun saw it. He walked over, rubbed Lu An's messy head, picked Lu Ning up from the edge of the cart and placed her properly, and finally took a look at Lu Linger, softly saying, "Sit tight, let's go home." Donkey hooves clattered on the snow, cartwheels crushing the snow, leaving 2 long tracks at the entrance of the town. 3 children squeezed between the grain bags and quilts, gnawing on candied haws, wrapped in new sheepskin jackets, feeling warm all over. The donkey cart slowly walked away along the snowy road. Beside the ruins of the tea shed, a circle of townspeople gathered to watch the excitement, the sound of pointing and whispering gradually scattered by the wind. And at this moment outside Qingshi town, Zhang Bao was carried for 3 li by 2 hooligans before daring to stop. Li San was gasping for breath on the side, his face pale. "Brother Bao, that kid, who exactly is that kid? Able to crush a hammer? Is this even human?" Zhang Bao clutched his wrist, sweating profusely from pain, but in his eyes, besides fear, there was resentment. He gritted his teeth, speaking word by word, "Go back to Qingzhou City, find my brother." When the donkey cart swayed into Lu family village, the sky had already darkened. The mud houses on both sides of the village road were all closed. Occasionally a dog barked from deep in the alley, only to be swallowed by the cold wind. When Lu Yun drove the donkey cart over the old locust tree at the village entrance, the cart wheels pressed 2 deep tracks into the frozen hard snow, creaking and squeaking. As soon as the donkey cart entered the courtyard, the 3 children fluttered down from the cart like 3 little sparrows. Lu Yun was the first to rush into the kitchen, moving the grain bags, sweating profusely but smiling from ear to ear. Lu Ning followed behind wanting to help, but stumbled after picking up a bundle of dried mushrooms, pulled back by the back of her collar by Lu Linger. Lu Linger was a big child now, and without being told, she started putting things away in the kitchen bag by bag. Grain stacked against the wall, the newly bought iron pot placed on the stove, pots, bowls, and basins arranged neatly. She worked carefully, and had a detail-oriented mind, secretly keeping accounts in her heart while putting things away. 100 jin of polished rice, 50 jin of millet, 30 jin of white flour, 20 jin of cured meat. She stopped counting halfway, turning her head to shout into the room, "Dad, did we buy too much cured meat? 20 jin. Even if we eat until spring, we won't finish it." Lu Yun was squatting in the courtyard checking the hooves of the gray donkey, answering without looking up, "If you can't finish it, give it away." Lu Linger was stunned for a moment, said nothing more, and continued putting things away with her head down, but the corners of her mouth rose unconsciously. The fire in the kitchen was relit. Lu Yun rolled up his sleeves, scooped 2 ladles of polished rice from the grain bag into the pot, and dug a piece of winter honey the size of a fist from the old jar in the corner. The winter honey was the sealed honey dug out from the charcoal kiln, sealed in the jar for who knows how many years, the honey thick as amber, drawing out long golden threads when scooped with a spoon. He put the winter honey into a coarse pottery bowl, mixed it with warm water and stirred it well. The sweet honey fragrance immediately filled the air, mixing with the smoky smell of wood burning in the stove, warmly floating throughout the room. The 3 children gathered at the kitchen door in unison, 6 eyes staring straight at the pot on the stove. Lu Yun made the medicated meal first. He took the angelica, astragalus, and cotinopsis he bought from the pharmacy in town, washed them with water, and put them into the casserole with the cured pork ribs cut into large pieces. The casserole was newly bought from the general store, gray pottery with coarse glaze, sturdy and durable. He also took the bag of dry medicinal herbs marked by the system from the hole in the old locust tree, opened it, and sure enough, it was 3 liang each of angelica, astragalus, and cotinopsis. Although the quality wasn't the best, the medicinal scent was very strong. After comparing it with the one bought in town, it wasn't bad at all. He combined the 2 portions of medicinal herbs, stuffing them into the casserole until it was full, then added a few slices of old ginger, 2 sections of scallion white, poured in enough water to submerge the ribs, covered the lid, and set it on the small fire opening by the stove to simmer slowly. "Dad, what are you cooking in this pot?" Lu Yun sniffed. "The smell is so pungent. Medicated food." Lu Yun lifted the lid of the casserole and stirred it. The bitter fragrance of the herbs and the salty aroma of the cured pork ribs churned in the steam. "To nourish your bodies. You and your sister are thinner than the other. Eating this will help you grow meat and gain strength." Lu Yun nodded as if he understood. Lu Ning was already on tiptoe beside him, peering into the casserole, her small nostrils fluttering, drool almost dripping out. out. With the medicated food stewing, Lu Yun started on the main meal. He picked out a piece of cured meat with a good ratio of fat to lean from the pile, cut it into thick slices the size of a palm, and pan-fried them in an iron pot until both sides were golden brown, fat sizzling as it oozed out. He didn't waste a drop of the rendered cured meat fat, directly scooping 2 spoonfuls of newly bought lard into the pot. Once the oil was hot, he threw in a handful of dried chili peppers and a few Sichuan peppercorns. With a hiss, a pungent, spicy aroma that made people sneeze instantly exploded in the kitchen. Lu Ning was choked and sneezed 3 times in a row, eyes teary, but she refused to retreat a single step, clinging to the door frame and staring fixedly at the pot. Lu Yun dumped the chopped cabbage stalks and rehydrated dried mushrooms into the pot, stirring them on high heat for a few moments. The cabbage curled in the hot oil into a translucent jade color, the mushrooms absorbing the oil and becoming black, shiny, and bright. He added the fried cured meat slices back into the pot, drizzled in soy sauce, sprinkled a pinch of salt, stirred evenly, and covered with a lid to simmer for a while. When the lid was lifted, that salty fragrance, wrapped in the spiciness and the numbing sensation of Sichuan peppercorns, slipped out through the cracks in the doors and windows, even the gray donkey in the courtyard snorting. But that wasn't all. Lu Yun scooped out the stir-fried cured meat and cabbage, and picked up an air-dried sheep leg from beside the grain bag. The sheep leg had been bought at the meat shop in the morning. Out of the 4 sheep legs, he had picked the fattest one. A thin layer of fat had formed on the surface of the air-dried sheep leg, and leaning in close, one could smell a faint gamey fragrance. He placed the sheep leg on the chopping board, used the newly bought kitchen knife to cut several deep slits into the meat, and then scooped the prepared winter honey water from the rough pottery bowl, applying it little by little onto the surface of the sheep leg. The honey water seeped into the cuts, and spurred by the residual heat of the mutton, the sweet fragrance and the meat aroma tangled and rose. Lu Yun sprinkled a layer of fine salt and peppercorn powder over the sheep leg, snapped off a few withered pine branches from the courtyard, lined the bottom of the iron pot, rested the sheep leg on the pine branches, covered the pot, and simmered slowly over low heat. As the pine branches heated up, they emitted a crisp, cool pine scent, and the sweet fragrance of the winter honey, mixed with the oily aroma of the mutton, forming a marvelous compound fragrance. This honey-glazed pine-scented sheep leg was something he had learned while working part-time in the kitchen of a Northwest restaurant in his past life. But back then, the honey used was acacia honey bought from a supermarket. The pine branches were dry pine needles, and the sheep leg was frozen. Yet, this jar of sealed winter honey had a level of sweetness far higher than acacia honey. The mutton was a local goat slaughtered and air-dried fresh, and the pine branches were from an old pine tree that had grown for 100 years on Kangwu Mountain. Every single ingredient was far superior to his past life. The firelight in the stove jumped and danced, the sheep leg in the iron pot crackling as it was smoked by the pine branches, the honey glaze forming a caramelized, crispy shell on the surface of the meat, the pine fragrance and meat aroma squeezing out from the lid cracks, so intense it almost had a shape. The yellow-haired dog at Auntie Wang's house next door was the first to lose it. That old dog had been napping at the base of her courtyard wall, when it suddenly bolted up with a start, nose sniffing hard toward Lu Yun's house, a whining sound emitting from its throat, its paws digging at the ground incessantly, as if dying to dig a hole through the wall to get over. Auntie Wang poked her head out of the house and scolded, "Dead dog, what are you acting up for in the middle of the night?" Then she smelled the fragrance too, unable to help but take a deep breath, muttering to herself, "What is that kid Lu Yun doing? How is it so fragrant?" The fragrance spread even further. Several children in the alley who were squatting at their doorways gnawing on corn buns smelled the scent, and the buns in their hands suddenly lost their appeal. A 7 or 8-year-old chubby boy threw his bun to the ground, and shouted at his mother, "Mom, I don't want to eat corn buns anymore. I want to eat the meat from Uncle Lu Yun's house. Smell that. What is that smell? I want to eat. I want to eat." His mother grabbed his ear and dragged him into the house. "Eat, eat, eat. All you know is eating. That's Lu Yun's family stuff. Where am I supposed to get that for you? Shut up and sleep." The chubby boy was still wailing as he was dragged back. "Uncle Lu Yun's food. Uncle Lu Yun's food." Lu Yun, hearing the commotion outside from the kitchen, couldn't help but laugh. He lifted the lid of the casserole to check on the medicated pork ribs. The soup had stewed into a milky white color. The medicinal fragrance of the angelica and astragalus thoroughly blended into the soup. The ribs stewed so tender that they fell off the bone at the prick of a chopstick. He uncovered the iron pot again. The crispy shell of the honey-glazed pine-scented sheep leg had been roasted into a deep amber color, the clear fragrance of pine branches and the sweetness of winter honey perfectly seeping into every fiber of the mutton. When a chopstick pricked into it, meat juice flowed out along the cracks, oily and bright. Finally, he stir-fried a large plate of dried mushrooms stewed with chicken chunks, using that old hen given by Auntie Lu. The chicken had been slaughtered and plucked the night before, coming in handy today, stewed with rehydrated dried mushrooms, and dried black fungus for half a pot. The soup was thick, the chicken stewed until the meat fell off the bone, the mushrooms plump after absorbing the soup. He also used millet flour and winter honey water to prepare a basin of honey cakes. This was simple, half millet flour and half glutinous rice flour, mixed with winter honey water into dough, rolled into small balls the size of a finger, and steamed in a steamer. Coming out of the steamer, they were translucent, sweet, sticky, and chewy. The three children each grabbed a handful and shoved them into their mouth. mouths, refusing to spit them out even while gasping from the heat. The finished dishes filled the table. Medicated pork rib soup, honey-glazed pine-scented sheep leg, cured meat stir-fried with cabbage, dried mushroom stewed chicken, winter honey millet cakes, plus a pot of white rice, a mix of meat and vegetables, complete in color, fragrance, and taste. The kitchen was steamy, the oil lamp's light shining on the table full of food. The three children sat around the table, eyes shining brightly as they looked at the dishes, swallowing their saliva gulp after gulp. But no one moved their chopsticks, all waiting for Lu Yun to speak. Eat. Lu Yun sat down, and picked up his chopsticks. Lu Yun reached out first, heading straight for the largest piece of honey-glazed crispy skin on the sheep leg. He took a bite, a crisp crunch sound, and then he froze as if struck by a paralysis spell. The sweetness of the honey, the clarity of the pine fragrance, the freshness of the mutton, the three flavors exploded in his small mouth. He widened his eyes, his mouth stuffed full, vaguely whining, so delicious. Lu Ning's eating style was even more uninhibited, directly using her hands to grab a piece of honey cake and stuff it into her mouth, then using a spoon to scoop a spoonful of the medicated pork rib soup, burning her tongue so she kept sticking it out, but not a single bite was she willing to spit out. After swallowing it all, she lifted her small face and shouted, "Daddy, this is the most delicious food in the world." Lu Linger ate delicately, but her chopsticks were also trembling slightly. She picked up a piece of cured meat and put it into her mouth, chewing and chewing, her eyes turning red without her noticing. She tried hard to hold back her tears, picked up a piece of chicken and put one in each of her siblings' bowls, then lowered her head, eating her own meal in small bites. Lu Yun served himself a bowl of the medicated pork rib soup, drinking it slowly. The bitterness of the herbs had been stewed away until very faint, the richness of the ribs and the sweetness of the angelica blending together. With one sip, his stomach felt warm. He could feel the medicinal power in the soup slowly circulating along his meridians. Although it couldn't compare to the tyranny of the body-quenching pill, it was mild and long-lasting, greatly beneficial to the three children's bodies. After finishing the meal, the three children laid on their chairs with round bellies, not wanting to move at all. Lu Ning's face was stained with honey glaze and millet flour, a grain of rice still hanging from the corner of her mouth. Lu Yun burped twice, eyes still fixed on the remaining half-piece of honey-glazed sheep leg on the table, clearly having the heart but not the strength. Lu Linger stood up, silently starting to clean up the bowls and chopsticks. Her movements were very light, the sound of bowls and chopsticks clinking small and fragmented. Halfway through cleaning, she suddenly stopped, turned around to look at Lu Yun, her lips moving, as if wanting to say something but not daring to. "What's wrong?" Lu Yun was by the stove, organizing the remaining jar of winter honey, not turning his head. "Dad." Lu Linger's voice was very soft. "When Mom was still home, neighbor Uncle Lee's family helped us a lot." Lu Yun's hand paused for a moment. Lu Linger's knuckles clutching the rag turned white, head down, not daring to look Lu Yun in the eyes. "Back then, younger brother was only 2. Younger sister had just been born. Mom couldn't manage by herself. It was Auntie Lee who came over every few days to help take care of the kids, cook, and wash clothes. Later, after Mom left, Auntie Lee still helped just the same, sending a bowl of porridge every few days, sometimes corn buns, sometimes pickled vegetables. Although Uncle Lee didn't talk much, he helped our family repair the roof twice. Once the year before last when the heavy snow collapsed the corner of the kitchen, and once last spring when it leaked." Her voice grew smaller and smaller, finally becoming almost like a mosquito buzzing. "Dad, before, in that state before, no one in the village looked up to us. Only Uncle and Auntie Lee never shunned us. Now that we have so much stuff, I think, you want to send something to Uncle Lee's family?" Lu Yun finished the sentence for her. Lu Linger looked up abruptly, tears shining in her eyes, nodding vigorously. Lu Yun watched for a while, and suddenly laughed. The smile wasn't big, but the wrinkles at the corners of his eyes unfolded, warm as the firelight in the stove. He walked over, reached out and rubbed Lu Linger's head, making the small bun she had tied in the morning crooked. "Let's go. Dad will take you." Lu Linger was stunned. Now, things like this shouldn't wait overnight. Lu Yun took the rag from her hand and put it on the stove, turned his head and shouted at the two little guys sprawled on the chairs. Ninger, put on your shoes. Follow Dad to Uncle Lee's house next door." Lu Yun sprang up from the chair. "To Uncle Lee's house? Dad, I haven't finished eating yet. You can eat more when we get back. Bring the cured meat out first." Lu Yun and Lu Ning, hearing they were to do chores, were immediately spirited, crawling and running into the inner room of the kitchen, each dragging a piece of cured meat out. The 2 pieces of cured meat together weighed at least 7 or 8 jin. The 2 little guys held the cured meat and wobbled to the courtyard gate, almost tripping over the threshold, supported by Lu Linger, one in each hand. Lu Yun scooped 10 jin of white flour from the grain pile into a clean cloth bag, grabbed 2 large handfuls of dried mushrooms and dried black fungus, wrapped them in oil paper and tied them with hemp rope. He took a clean large pottery bowl from the stove, scooped a bowl full of winter honey, sealed it with oil paper, and tied it tightly with hemp rope. After a thought, he also packed the remaining half-piece of honey-glazed pine-scented sheep leg on the table into the bamboo basket, covering it with a clean white cloth. Lu Linger watched him organize the things one by one from the side, her eye sockets turning red again. She opened her mouth wanting to say something, but her throat felt like it was stuffed with a ball of cotton. In her heart, she actually only wanted to send one piece of cured meat. Really, just one piece of cured meat would be enough. But Dad packed a whole basket full. Cured meat, white flour, dried goods, winter honey. Even the half piece of honey-glazed sheep leg he had specially made for the evening was packed in. Take it. Lu Yun handed the bamboo basket to her, bent down to pick up Lu Ning, and carried the grain bag in his other hand. Linger, let's go. The Li house was right next door, separated by a low mud wall, just a few steps away. Auntie Li was squatting at the courtyard gate rinsing a pot. It was a pottery pot, with a chipped opening, and she rinsed it very carefully, afraid of making the crack bigger. Her husband, Li Taizhu, sat on the threshold rubbing straw rope, a pair of calloused hands rubbing the straw with a creaking sound. From inside the house came the sound of two children playing. The older one was called Li Xiaohu, 7 this year, the younger one Li Xiaomiao, only 4, rolling back and forth on the Kong. Is anyone home? Lu Yun stood outside the low wall and shouted. Auntie Li looked up and saw Lu Yun, startled for a moment, then quickly stood up, wiping her hands on her apron. Brother Lu, what's the matter? Her gaze fell on the 3 children behind Lu Yun, and then on the full bamboo basket in Lu Linger's hand, her eyes changing slightly. Nothing much. Lu Yun pushed open the Li courtyard gate, put the grain bag on the ground, and signaled Luan and Lu Ning. Just shared some New Year's goods, to add a dish for Brother Li and sister-in-law. Linger, bring the things over. Lu Linger walked up holding the bamboo basket, respectfully handing it to Auntie Li, her voice thin. Auntie Li, this is what we made ourselves, and some bought in town. Thank you and Uncle Li for taking care of our family all these years. Auntie Li looked down at the things in the bamboo basket. Cured meat, dried mushrooms, dried black fungus, winter honey, and half a piece of sheep leg shimmering with pine and honey fragrance. The weight was heavy, the handle of the bamboo basket bent by the pressure. She stepped back, waving her hands repeatedly. How can this be? So many things. You keep them and eat them. The 3 kids are all growing. Why give them to us? Taizhu, say something. Li Taizhu stopped rubbing the straw rope, looked up at Lu Yun, then looked at the things in the basket, moved his mouth, and squeezed out a sentence. Take it back. Your family has it tough. Lu Yun smiled. Brother Li, my family is well off now. He patted the grain bag. There's more at home. This bag is 10 jin of white flour, for steaming buns for the 2 kids. Li Taizhu looked down at the bag of white flour, then looked up, looking at Lu Yun's face. He had lived in Lu family village for over 40 years, seen too much of human warmth and coldness. But the Lu Yun in front of him was simply like a different person compared to the man who drank and gambled and didn't care about the lives of his kids in his memory. He stood up, rubbed his rough hands on his trousers, his voice still stiff, but his tone softened. Brother Lu, these things, they really aren't a small amount. Your family of 4 has only just recovered. Don't empty your family background to return a favor. Who says I'm returning a favor? Lu Yun pushed the grain bag forward. Back when I was acting the fool, who in the whole village looked up to me? Lu Yun? Who cared if these 3 kids lived or died? Only Brother Li and sister-in-law didn't mind. Sending porridge, repairing the roof. These things, Lu Yun might not say them out loud, but I remember them all in my heart. These things today aren't returning a favor, but my sincere thanks to you. Auntie Li listened, and her eyes turned red. She blinked hard, holding back her tears, but her voice choked up. Brother Lu, what are you saying? We are all fellow villagers. Shouldn't we lend a hand when someone is in need? At this moment, the 2 kids inside heard the commotion, and ran out one after another. Li Xiaohu was barefoot on the snow, dragged up by his mother by the back collar. Put on your shoes. Don't you freeze to death. Li Xiaomiao was clever, coming out already wearing a pair of cotton shoes so big that 3 toes could fit in, pouncing to Auntie Li's side, looking curiously at Luan and Lu Ning with her little face up, and then her gaze was attracted by the half piece of honey-glazed sheep leg, revealed in the bamboo basket in Lu Linger's hand. Mom, what is that? Xiaomiao bit her finger, her eyes wide, drool already flowing down to her chin. Before Auntie Li could answer, Lu Ning had already let go of Lu Yun's hand and ran over, standing in front of Li Xiaomiao and introducing like a little adult. That's honey-glazed pine-scented sheep leg, made by my daddy. So delicious. Smell it. Li Xiaomiao leaned close to the basket and smelled it, eyes widening abruptly, turning her head to shout to her mother. Mom, so fragrant. I want to eat meat. Auntie Li, seeing that Lu Yun was indeed sincere, no longer declined, accepted the basket and placed it on the table, smiling. Thank you all. She gave a thumbs up to Lu Linger. Linger, this girl is getting more and more sensible. Brother Lu, you don't know, back when you were acting the fool, how many people stabbed you in the back, all saying you'd never amount to anything. But today I see, a prodigal son returning. Priceless. Li Taizhu wasn't good with words, but at this moment he said in a low voice, Brother Lu, you have changed. Lu Yun waved his hand. Let's not mention the past. Back then I was confused. I let down Linger's mother, and let down these 3 kids. Now I've figured it out. No matter how hard life is, we have to keep going. Not only keep going, but live decently. These 3 kids, I want to raise every single one of them to be an adult. Li Taizhu nodded, his gaze serious. If you can really do that, that will be the blessing of these 3 kids. Auntie Li wiped her eyes. Isn't that right? Kids are the root. Brother Lu, you stay well, and the kids will be well. At this moment, Li Xiaohu and Luan were already playing together. 2 boys squatting at the base of the wall comparing who had more strength. Li Xiaohu moved around rock, and Luan insisted on moving the same one, but couldn't, mocked by Li Xiaohu with a, "You can't do it." Luan, unconvinced, tilted his head and shouted to Lu Yun, "Dad, I want to learn kung fu from you too. I want to lift the biggest rock on the mountain." Li Xiaohu's eyes widened. "Your dad knows kung fu. My dad can do everything. Today he even threw a bad guy whoosh far away." Li Xiaomiao and Lu Ning also got together, two little girls squatting on the threshold whispering. Lu Ning took out a candy from her pocket. That was the 2 malt sugars Lu Yun bought extra when buying candied haws in town during the day. She had been hiding it and couldn't bear to eat it. Handing it to Li Xiaomiao, "Here, eat. So sweet." Li Xiaomiao received the candy, put it in her mouth, and her eyes immediately curved like crescent moons, muttering something vaguely, probably meaning it was delicious. Auntie Li watched the 4 kids playing together in the courtyard, the tears in the crow's feet at the corners of her eyes not yet dry, a smile already surfacing from the depths of her wrinkles. She turned to Lu Yun, sighing with emotion. "To tell you the truth, Brother Lu, we people scratch for food in the dirt all day long. What for? Just for the kids to grow up safely, and live better than us in the future. Look at you now. The kids have new clothes, have full bellies, and even give neighbors New Year's goods. This is what living properly looks like. Although we mud-legged folks haven't read many books, we can tell who is good and who is bad. Even a blind man can feel it. From now on, let our 2 families visit each other more. Don't be strangers." Lu Yun said seriously. Definitely. When leaving the Li house, the sky was already pitch dark. Luan and Lu Ning hadn't played enough. Dragged back home by Lu Yun, one in each hand, Lu Linger followed behind, holding the empty bamboo basket. But her heart was so full it felt like it was about to overflow. She watched the back of her father walking in front, the moonlight stretching his shadow very, very long, covering the road under her feet. Back home, the 3 kids couldn't wait to dig out their new clothes. Luan was the fastest, stripping off his tattered cotton jacket in no time, putting on the newly bought thick cotton shirt and sheepskin jacket. The jacket was a size too big, the sleeves long enough to cover his fingers, but he didn't care, spinning around the room several times, standing on a chair with his hands on his hips and announcing, "I am the hero of Kangwu Mountain." Lu Ning didn't have her sister to help, trying for half a day to button the sheepskin jacket, stamping her feet in anxiety. Lu Linger went over, squatted down, and buttoned it for her one by one. When the last button was done, Lu Ning looked down at the new clothes on her body, suddenly giggling, jumping around the room, shouting, "Soft, so soft. Daddy, the clothes are soft." Lu Linger was the last to change. When she put on the dark red jacket with small floral patterns, her fingers stroked the small lace border embroidered on the collar repeatedly, stroking for a long, long time. She took the peachwood hairpin from her bosom, carefully inserted it into her bun, then walked to the water vat in the kitchen, by the light of the oil lamp, lowering her head to look at her reflection on the water surface. The water surface was blurry, only seeing a dark red outline, and the shadow of that crooked peachwood hairpin on her bun. She pursed her lips and smiled at that reflection. After changing into new clothes, the 3 children stood in a row for Lu Yun to see. Luan puffed out his small chest, the sheepskin jacket wrapping him like a round little bear. Lu Ning pulled at the hem of the jacket, looking left and right, feeling quite vain. Although Lu Linger was blushing and lowering her head, she stood straighter than usual, her chin slightly tucked, a smile that couldn't be suppressed in the corners of her mouth. Lu Yun looked at them, nodded, full of spirit. "From now on, wear new ones every new year." Lu An's eyes lit up. "Dad, will there be new clothes every new year from now on?" "Yes." "Will there be meat to eat every year?" "Yes." "Will there be candied haws every year?" "Yes." Luan opened his mouth and laughed for a long time, then suddenly remembering something, asked solemnly, "Then Dad, when can our donkey cart be changed to a big one? I want to ride in a big cart."